Hey everyone, welcome back. Quick thanks to the patrons who keep this channel alive. Your requests are what I narrate next. If you want to join them, you can try Patreon free for 7 days, then it's starting with just $3 a month. Links in the description. Now, let's get into the story.
It took Lin Yan a good 10 minutes to come back to himself. Then he decided to ring He Xiao. When a man's luck turns, the best comfort isn't a friend's sympathy. It's watching someone else suffer alongside him. He Xiao and Lin Yan were hardly on good terms. After the business in the canteen, He Xiao had lost every scrap of face he had, a second year, pressed so hard by Lu Sun that he didn't dare take to the ring, and then exposed in front of the whole room as having been beaten bloody by him. He'd been training furiously ever since to win it back. Lin Yan wanted him to see Lu Sun's result, and to pass the despair along. It would make him feel a great deal better. After all, Lu Sun and I are first years of the same age. You, He Xiao, are a year older, and you set foot on the road a full year before he did. And Lu Sun's starting point is where your year ended. That must sit very comfortably. What? Impossible. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Lin Yan had judged it correctly. 3 flat denials before he'd finished speaking. He Xiao didn't believe it. Couldn't, and didn't want to. How? Then he looked at the rookie board, and had to. The board was published by Beta University itself, there was nothing to doubt. His expression turned thoroughly ugly. He'd spent these past days on a footwork art called the Serpent Step. Before the confrontation outside the cafe he'd already brought it to its 2nd level, and he'd meant to reach the 3rd, then challenge Lu Sun and take back what he'd lost. And now Lu Sun's cultivation had caught him outright. Both of them at the 4th stage of the Qi Si. It had taken He Xiao a year to reach it. It had taken Lu Sun a little over a month, and in that same month he'd carried his immortal cultivation into the 2nd realm as well. Set against that, what am I supposed to look like? He Xiao lost all appetite for training on the spot and sat there hollowed out. Then, at last, he found something to steady himself on. However far you defy heaven, choosing to cultivate both roads is a dead end. It's only a question of when you die of it. A cold light came into his eyes. You're a meteor. Brilliant for a moment, and gone. So long as I keep going forward step by step, what I become will outlast what you become. His conviction firmed. The heart of the Tao sounds like a complicated thing. In practice it is belief, confidence, resolve, the will to grow stronger. And sometimes a man needs comfort. Lin Yan had rung to hand his despair over, and He Xiao had found a foothold solid enough to convince himself. Without one he'd have been finished. Even so, the despair underneath didn't shift. Lu Sun was too fast. Fast past belief, fast enough that He Xiao knew he'd never close it, and could only hope the man died of his own ambition. I need the Serpent Step at its 3rd level, and then I settle accounts with him. This is the last chance I'll get. He had his target again. Now, while their cultivation was level, because at the rate Lu Sun was climbing, there'd be no later. Brother Sun, you're incredible. 1st place. You've gone past Murong Wan again. Li Bufan rang early in the morning. How does that boy always find phrasing that's both suggestive and technically accurate? Ha, my good disciple. You haven't disappointed me. Here, take this dark energy and put it to use. Fei Tai came weaving over and pressed another card into his hand. He'd evidently heard as well. Fortunately he showed no sign of reforming himself this time, having handed over the card, he wandered off again. A magnificent instructor. Lu Sun sighed with feeling. You could search by lantern light and not find another. Chu Youqing hadn't messaged, buried in her training and unaware. Murong Wan would be the same. 4th stage of the Qi Si. In a training room, a young man with sharp brows and clear eyes murmured it to himself, Lu Xinghe, 3rd on the rookie board. Lu Sun. No wonder Teacher Fu wanted you first. Something seemed to settle for him. He put down his phone, sat back down in the starlight and resumed. Lu Sun's fourth stage of the Qi Si had surprised him, but it hadn't frightened him. As the bearer of the galaxy holy body, Lu Xinghe had absolute confidence in himself. He sat cross-legged, palms and soles turned upward, drawing in starlight and releasing it. The galaxy holy body cultivates on the power of the stars, so Lu Xinghe slept by day and worked by night, his hours entirely inverted. Hardly anyone ever managed to meet him. After dark, Lu Sun found the campus network had been more or less submerged in him. The most popular thread ran under the title "I told you Lu Sun was the top talent of the year," posted, it turned out, by the same person who'd built the earlier ranking that put him first. Plenty of others held that a dual cultivator was heading for a fall. What do you know? He's a genuine monster. Nobody's succeeded yet, that doesn't make the road impassable. What if he does? Whatever comes of dual cultivation later, there's no arguing he's the top talent of this year. The question is how long he shines. What's wrong with a meteor? Have you ever been that bright? Care to wager on whether he makes it? Loser calls the winner father. Well. That last was arguing with everybody in sight, and had evidently become something of a devotee. Meanwhile, on Qinbei Street. In the Star and Moon building, Murong Wan hung up on her father and let out a long breath. Murong Wan had somehow got wind of everything and rung to take her apart. She was fairly sure her sister had told him. He had a ferocious temper, and he'd shown his own daughter no mercy, dragging up the whole history of her willful marriage to a worthless young man, and the pregnancy she'd used to force his hand. Murong Wan had said that she'd been in exactly that position herself, so what right did she have to police Chu Youqing? He'd also said that Lu Sun was 100 times the man her husband was, that he accepted the boy as a grandson-in-law, and that if she dared force Chu Youqing into the He family, he'd be on the first flight to the capital himself. The scolding left her thoroughly rattled. Yenner, why don't we simply let the matter drop? 10 minutes later her husband rang. From which Murong Wan gathered that Murong Wan had rung Chu Youqing too, and called him a failure who wanted to sell his daughter to change his fortunes. A grown man, very nearly in tears. She was in a genuine panic now. She didn't dare tell Chu Youqing she'd drugged Lu Sun. Still less that she'd failed, and been reduced to screaming. Lu Sun, if only he hadn't chosen to cultivate both roads. After everything, and several encounters with him, even she had to admit the boy was impressive. His background was simply too low. Opening heaven and earth extraordinary veins had gone some way toward making up for that, and she'd very nearly talked herself round on it, and then he'd chosen dual cultivation, at hell's own difficulty. Is that really true? Is Lu Sun that strong? Of course it's true. It's everywhere. Voices carried up from outside. As a third realm warrior her hearing was sharp, and she listened. And what she heard raised a storm in her. The students were discussing Lu Sun topping the rookie board at the fourth stage of the Qi Si and the first stage of Qi gathering. Murong Wan couldn't sit still. She hurried downstairs. Excuse me, is that true, what you were saying? Of course it is. Look for yourself. The student, finding himself asked by a woman like that, produced the campus network at once. Murong Wan took it and looked. Her eyes widened by degrees, and she stood there entirely still. It was a long while before she came back to herself. She went back upstairs, sat down, and didn't move again until dawn. The next morning she packed her things and went out, toward Beidou University. Lu Sun, Student Affairs. Someone's here for you. The call came again the next morning. Lu Sun frowned faintly. The office wouldn't have rung so formally for an ordinary visitor. Approaching, he checked his step. Murong Wan stood a little way off, plainly waiting for him. Auntie. What do you want? He came over evenly, his eyes distant. After what she'd put in his drink, that was generous. Lu Sun. I'm sorry. She caught her lower lip between her teeth, and the apology in her eyes looked genuine. Lu Sun said nothing and simply looked at her. An apology. If apologies settled things, what would we need the law for? I returned to Rongqing today. This is the key to the Star and Moon building. From now on it belongs to Youqing. I'd be grateful if you'd keep an eye on it. You and Youqing can split the takings between you. She held out a key. Lu Sun didn't take it. I won't interfere between you and Youqing again. Murong Wan sighed. But be careful of the He family. I refused them plainly. I'm afraid they'll take it out on you. Her expression didn't look like an act. After a moment he took the key. Auntie. I'll watch the building for Youqing. But I won't take a single unit of the profits. Thank you. Relief showed on her face at last. And I really am sorry for that day. Goodbye. Goodbye. He didn't see her off. Lu Sun, why has my mother turned around like this? She's not only stopped objecting, she's refused the He family outright, oh, and she signed the Star and Moon building over to me. Chu Youqing rang a few hours later. I couldn't say. He didn't tell her what had happened that day. Only 3 people knew, Murong Wan, himself, and Murong Wan. Murong Wan had set it in motion, and Lu Sun had lost nothing by it. Her sister was the one who'd actually paid for it. Oh, I've only just seen your top of the rookie board. That must be it. Mother saw what you could become. Lu Sun, you're incredible. Chu Youqing had made her own discovery, and was thoroughly proud of him. Lu Sun genuinely didn't know what had changed her mother's mind. A change of heart after that day? Or did the rookie board come into it? Either way, a mother-in-law who's stopped objecting is no bad thing. Concentrate on your training. I'll look after the building. They talked a long while before turning in. The next day Lu Sun went to the Star and Moon building to look it over, and found Murong Wan had indeed gone. On the 4th floor, nearly all her personal belongings had been cleared out, leaving only the furniture and fittings. The shop needed little worrying about, the people she'd hired were reliable enough. And business really was good, monthly takings ran into the millions. This was Qingbei Street, after all. Even a student on the lowest resource tier at the 2 universities drew hundreds of units of dark energy a month, which in the ordinary world was the equivalent of a very comfortable salary. Not that many students would convert dark energy into money unless they were genuinely desperate. Boss, someone's asking for you. Lu Sun was on his way out when the manager came over. Who? An alchemist. Says she wants to discuss a partnership. An alchemist? He went downstairs and found nobody but students browsing the shelves. Are you the boss? A girl in twin ponytails bounced into his path. That's me. She's very young. This is the alchemist. Bai Ling. 2nd grade alchemist. I've a piece of business that can't lose. Would the boss be interested? A 2nd grade alchemist. Lu Sun didn't know much about alchemist grades, but he knew a little. A 2nd grade alchemist refines elixirs corresponding to the 2nd realm, which is to say, pills useful to cultivators of the 1st and 2nd realms. Alchemists are nearly always immortal cultivators, martial artists rarely manage it. Spiritual power is gentler and more forgiving. True energy is overbearing and carries a killing edge, and using it to govern a furnace tends to end in failure. Go on. He was willing to hear it. Your shop's in a wonderful spot. Give me half of it. I'll sell pills here and hand you 30% of what I take. How's that? Bai Ling held up 3 fingers. Half the shop, to sell pills. Lu Sun thought for a moment. Do you know what this shop used to be? She shook her head. It used to sell elixirs. It was called the Precious Pill Pavilion. The owner employed 2 alchemists, 1 second grade, 1 third. And it still closed inside a year. Oh. Lu Sun knew the place well enough, because Li Bufan had bought pills there once. In Li Bufan's estimation, a pill was a pill, and those had been thoroughly ordinary. Blue Star's martial arts, immortal arts and magic were all reasonably developed. What it conspicuously lacked was any truly formidable alchemist. Partly because several past disasters had wrecked so much of the wild that high-grade alchemical materials had become nearly impossible to find outside the ancient Star Road. And partly because the alchemists themselves were still feeling their way. There were inheritances enough on the ancient Star Road, no good alchemical one had turned up yet. Boss, but why? Why? You're an alchemist. You don't know. He assumed she was being deliberately obtuse. Bai Ling shook her head. I don't. Come outside. He walked to the door, and once she'd followed him out, pointed across the street at a shop doing roaring business. What's that? Jia's elixirs. The characters are enormous. Can the boss not see them? She looked genuinely puzzled, as though concerned about his eyesight. Is this girl slow, or performing? You've read the sign. And you still don't understand why the precious pill pavilion went under? She shook her head, entirely guileless. They sell theirs, we sell ours. What has one to do with the other? Where has she come from, exactly? She evidently had no idea that with Jia's on the street, virtually no pill shop on Qingbei Street survived. Jia's was the single most profitable business on it by a wide margin. Murong Wan's building didn't take a fraction of what they did. And they earned more of it in dark energy, which is the hard currency of the cultivating world. Do you imagine your pills can outsell the Jia group? He'd rather run out of patience. Bai Ling nodded. Yes. I refine first and second grade pills better than they do. Lu Sun looked at her carefully to establish whether she was serious. Her eyes were perfectly clear, she might have been stating the weather. If the boss doesn't believe me, I've a bottle of qi gathering pills here. Look for yourself, every pill I refine carries gold veining. She produced a small jade bottle and handed it over. Gold veining? What's gold veining? Alchemists of the same grade still rank above and below one another. It works like techniques, 4 tiers, heaven, earth, mystic, yellow. Yellow-tier alchemists are the poorest. Whatever grade of pill they refine, it carries no veining at all. Above yellow, mystic-tier pills carry white veining, earth-tier silver, heaven-tier gold. The grade only tells you what level of pill an alchemist can refine. What decides the quality of the pill is the alchemist's tier. And I am a second grade, heaven-tier alchemist. Bai Ling lifted her chin, thoroughly pleased with herself. Lu Sun took out his phone and checked, and found she hadn't been exaggerating in the least. That was genuinely how alchemists were assessed. First grade, second grade, third grade simply denoted the level of elixir one could refine. Whether the elixir was any good came down to the alchemist's tier. The 2 alchemists the precious pill pavilion had employed, 1 second grade, 1 third, had produced pills with no veining whatsoever. Yellow tier, the lowest there was. What use is an alchemist like that, however high a grade of elixir he can technically produce? If you're this formidable, how is it you can't afford to rent premises? Doubt crept in at once. An alchemist of that standard walking into somewhere like the Jia group would have people fighting over her. Your shop has the best position on the street. It's directly opposite the Jias you mentioned. I want to compete with them. Bai Ling's eyes stayed clear and steady as she said it, without the slightest evasion, which made it very difficult not to believe her. Compete with Jia's elixirs? The girl had nerve. Jia's was an enormous group with alchemists by the dozen. And she proposed to arm wrestle them. Take the qi gathering pills. A gift, verify them yourself. She pressed the jade bottle on him. Lu Sun uncorked it and breathed in, and a strong medicinal fragrance rolled out. His spirits lifted without his meaning them to. That smells wonderful. The other students in the shop caught it too, and every one of them looked briefly transported. Looking closer, he found it was exactly as she'd said, every pill carried fine gold veining. The gold seemed almost colorless, and simple enough at a glance, but stare at it a while and one had the sense of looking into some ultimate principle of heaven and earth. These aren't ordinary. They really may be second grade, heaven tier. Well, I wasn't lying. Bai Ling looked at him expectantly. The shop isn't mine, strictly speaking, I'll have to ask the owner. Could you come back tomorrow? He was, in fact, rather tempted. If Bai Ling could do what she claimed, the business would certainly make money. There was only so much to be had selling trinkets, pills were where the real money lay. What the Jia Group took each year from its Qingbei Street shop alone dwarfed everything the Star and Moon building brought in. The building looked profitable enough, but after rent and wages there wasn't a great deal left, the rent here was punishing. Murong Yan's purpose in taking it had been watching her daughter, not turning a profit. Now that it was Chu Youqing's, and Lu Sun had nothing whatever to do with his time, there seemed no reason not to try. And if it did make money, it would give her a second income. Cultivation is expensive. With her father out of favor in the Chu family, and at the rate she was climbing, sooner or later they wouldn't be able to supply what she needed, and short of resources, progress slows whether the talent is there or not. A great many people advance slowly for no other reason. All right. 10 tomorrow. 10's fine. Tomorrow, then. The girl left. Lu Sun pocketed the bottle and messaged Chu Youqing. Her phone had a smart assistant that wouldn't disturb her for anything short of an emergency, and he'd no intention of interrupting her training. Lu Sun, do whatever you think best, you don't need to ask me. We'll split the shop's profits evenly, and the dark energy you gave me comes out of my half. As for those pills, I'm coming to collect them right now. She rang back at midday. Gold veining. This is heaven tier. At the school gates, Chu Youqing's eyes lit up the moment she saw the qi gathering pills. She knew exactly what she was looking at. Heaven tier elixirs are enormously expensive even at first grade. Lu Sun, this Bai Ling must come from somewhere very serious indeed. Giving away something this valuable, and there are 12 of them here. I thought the same. It was obvious enough. Lu Sun hadn't much experience of such things, but even he could tell the girl's clothes were fine and expensive. And her manner of doing business was decisive to the point of bluntness, 12 heaven tier pills handed over the moment she'd said she would. Hardly an ordinary person. Be careful, then. Guard yourself. I'll take one of these and try it, and tell you the result. No, take all of them. Don't you need them for your own cultivation? No. She gave me a whole bottle. Oh. By dint of a certain amount of coaxing and mild deception, Lu Sun got the entire bottle into her hands. Qi gathering pills are the great favorite of second realm immortal cultivators, they speed the gathering of qi and the refining of dark energy, with no side effects. Elixirs that raise cultivation directly are another matter and shouldn't be taken freely, take too many and pill toxins accumulate and cripple later progress. And cultivation bought from a bottle never compares to cultivation earned. An assisting pill like this is the sound choice. Lu Sun, the effect is remarkable. 3 times my training speed at least. One pill seems to last a month, I don't know yet whether the effect drops off after that. Chu Youqing reported back that evening. 3 times. That was genuinely good. The best qi gathering pill on the market, Jia's, managed about double. Lesser brands improved cultivation speed by a few percent and often carried side effects. Duration matters as much as strength, too. A pill that costs a fortune and wears off in an afternoon is no use however impressive it is while it lasts. Give her half the building, then. Lu Sun decided. Well, boss. Have you thought it over? Bai Ling arrived at 10 sharp the next morning. I have. Though there are details to settle. Of course. After some discussion they came to terms. Bai Ling took half the ground floor, and half the third for her alchemy. She'd wanted the fourth as well, but Lu Sun declined for the present. She'd pay no rent, and would hand him 40% of her profits. 40 was Lu Sun's own figure, and she agreed to it without a blink, which only strengthened his sense that her background was anything but ordinary. She isn't here to make money at all. She's here to prove something. That was quick. 3 days later Lu Sun returned to find the Star and Moon building entirely refitted. With a partner coming in, the whole place had been redone. The third floor was finished too, and Bai Ling had put a small bed in one of the side rooms, evidently intending to sleep there. Refurbishment moves fast in this era, but even so, this was fast. On the 4th day her shop opened. She'd named it the Spirit Pill Pavilion, which suited her own name neatly. Heaven-tier elixirs. They're expensive. Expensive, yes. They're heaven-tier. The Spirit Pill Pavilion drew students from both universities the moment it opened, purely on the strength of what was on its shelves. The place was packed to the threshold. Every heaven-tier elixir sold out inside the first hour. The moment they were gone, Bai Ling had the doors shut and a sign hung out telling everyone to come back tomorrow. It's gone already. I should never have hesitated over the money. The students who'd missed out were inconsolable. Well, boss. I didn't lie to you, did I? Inside, Bai Ling dusted off her hands, thoroughly pleased with herself. Impressive. Lu Sun gave her a thumbs up. Right. I'm going to go and refine some more. You can come and watch if you're interested, but I'm not undertaking to teach you anything. And she went up to the 3rd floor, to the alchemy room she'd made of it. Lu Sun, the Spirit Pill Pavilion's doing so well, why not simply give her the whole building? Not yet. The Star and Moon buildings trade has picked up lately too. All right. Chu Youqing had come over that weekend, and the crowd startled her. The queue outside the Spirit Pill Pavilion very nearly reached the end of Qingbei Street. Jia's shop across the road had been badly affected. Students who'd come intending to buy elixirs would rather wait than settle for Jia's, even when Bai Ling's had already sold out. Some queued in the middle of the night to be sure of getting them. Nor was she limited to qi-gathering pills and condensation pills. She refined some genuinely precious things besides, elixirs for widening the qi sea and the meridians, which is the sort of thing that makes a cultivator's heart beat faster. Unfortunately the number she could produce in a day was limited, and most people went away empty-handed. Lu Sun, if she's this formidable, why is she here refining pills to sell? Lu Sun had no answer for that either. The girl came from somewhere serious and carried an air of mystery about her, and heaven alone knew why she'd set up shop on Qingbei Street. Perhaps she's a child of some great house who got bored at home and came out to amuse herself. Either way it did him no harm. The Spirit Pill Pavilion's trade was such that a single day's commission matched several days of the Star and Moon building's takings, and his share came in dark energy. Being on good terms with Bai Ling had another advantage, he could obtain heaven-tier condensation pills for Murong Wan. Like the qi-gathering pill, the condensation pill is a second-grade elixir, but it serves warriors rather than immortal cultivators. Worried she wouldn't accept them from him, Lu Sun had Chu Youqing pass them along. They'd speed her cultivation considerably. Murong Wan had in fact been using elixirs to assist her training already, Jia's, which were somewhat weaker than Bai Ling's. Brother Lu, be careful. There's a new commission on the dark web with your name on it. They're offering 1,000,000 units of dark energy this time. That's high enough that I'd expect a 4th realm cultivator to take it. Luo Dasheng's message arrived a fortnight later. The earlier commission had also been raised, from 30,000 units to 50, presumably because nobody had taken it. 50,000 is a great deal of dark energy, but Lu Xun had stayed inside Beta University, venturing no further than Qingbei Street. For an ordinary third realm cultivator, acting on Qingbei Street is dangerous work, even a successful killing would mean answering for it afterward. And fourth realm cultivators wouldn't glance at 50,000 for that kind of risk. 1,000,000 units was another matter entirely. A full cubic meter of dark energy, 1 billion at the very least in money. There isn't a fourth realm cultivator alive who wouldn't at least be tempted. Who's paying? It took Lu Xun very little thought to settle on a suspect. The He family. Nobody else fitted. The man who'd stripped him of everything on a forged debt couldn't lay hands on that much dark energy. The He family could. They'd offered Lu Xun 1,000,000 units to leave Chu Youqing, after all. And after Murong Wan refused them outright, they'd evidently been angry enough to spend exactly that sum on the dark web instead. I'll keep off the streets, then. He'd guessed the source, but there was nothing he could presently do about it. The He family were wealthy enough to produce 1,000,000 units without blinking, and at his current strength he couldn't contest them at all. Staying inside the school was the only answer. Even a fourth realm cultivator who took the commission wouldn't dare move against him at Beta University. Qingbei Street was reasonably safe as well, though a fourth realm cultivator might chance it, particularly one confident of escaping afterward. Turning that over, Lu Xun headed for the school. He Xiao. He found him waiting at the gates, and He Xiao brightened at the sight of him. After all this time he'd finally brought the serpent step to its third level, and he'd come here specifically to issue his challenge. Lu Xun. He got no further. A figure flickered, and Lu Xun was already on him. Red Lotus burning heart palm. Sensing the danger, He Xiao chose not to evade but to meet him head-on. His Red Lotus veins let him cultivate Red Lotus Qi, which made his strikes extraordinarily explosive. Last time, Lu Xun had slipped his attack and hit him hard from the side, which had convinced He Xiao that, being level with him at the fourth stage of the Qi Si, Lu Xun wouldn't dare trade blows directly. The two collided. And the sound of blood being coughed up went up again. He Xiao, thoroughly confident a heartbeat earlier, was flung backward better than 10 meters and came down hard. Impossible. He couldn't make sense of it. He'd trained specifically to force Lu Xun into meeting him head-on. And Lu Xun had met him head-on, without so much as flinching aside, and he still couldn't hold. Before he could gather himself, Lu Xun was on him, had him underfoot, and set about him thoroughly. By the time the school's security and a teacher arrived, He Xiao's face was swollen past recognition. Students, that's enough of that. Only then did Lu Xun let him up. Lu Xun, how dare you hit me? He Xiao hauled himself upright with blood across his face, looking rather like a pig's head. I did hit you. Wasn't it you who told me one can't fight inside the school? Lu Xun had found the loophole. This was just outside the gates. Fighting here still drew a penalty, but a far lighter one than the same thing on school grounds. The He family had quietly put 1,000,000 units of dark energy on the dark web for his death. If I can't touch the He family, I can certainly touch the He family's children. So today, I'm going to hit you. While Lu Xun was busy dismantling He Xiao, Lin Yan cowered behind the school gate, too frightened to look out. He was thoroughly afraid of Lu Xun now. He Xiao had brought him along today expressly to wait for Lu Xun's return, so the challenge could be issued and settled in the ring. But Lu Xun had no principles worth the name and had simply started swinging outside the school, and left He Xiao in a dreadful state. What good looks He Xiao had possessed were no longer discernible. Lu Xun, you wait. Today's humiliation, ugh. Student. Stop that, or we'll be obliged to restrain you. Seeing the security staff and a teacher arriving, He Xiao had gathered himself to say something suitably threatening and salvage a little face. Whereupon Lu Xun kicked him into the pond in front of both of them. He Xiao went in upside down, feet skyward, to the astonishment of every student passing. Savage. Lin Yan shivered, then noticed his own foot was still outside the school gate, and withdrew it hurriedly, in case Lu Xun spotted him and decided to try the same thing. Before long the campus network had filled with photographs, and drew a considerable audience. It was the weekend, and more students than usual were online. A good many were also in the habit of browsing after their day's training so as not to miss anything important. It's only a fight. If somebody needs punishing, punish me. Don't make life difficult for my good student. In the school affairs office, Fei Taiye looked entirely untroubled. Lu Xun had, naturally, been hauled in over the beating, and Fei Taiye had heard about it somewhere and come to shield him. Since the fight had happened outside the school, and with his instructor defending him so vigorously, Lu Xun escaped without penalty. He was merely spoken to by the school's leadership, to the effect that students should live in harmony and not bully one another. I'm a first year and he's a second year. How exactly am I bullying him? He can only blame himself for not amounting to more. Lu Xun delivered this with a perfectly clear conscience, evidently unaware of having done anything wrong and with no intention of correcting it. He Xiao. Are you a man? If you're a man, come up to the ring. He Xiao. Does your mother know how spineless you are? He Xiao. Over the following days the campus was treated to a spectacle. Whenever Lu Xun had nothing better to do, he would head off He Xiao. Wherever He Xiao appeared, Lu Xun would materialize and summon him to the ring. Had Lu Xun been a year ahead of him, or even in the same year, it would have been one thing. Lu Xun was a first year. He Xiao was a second year. And He Xiao didn't dare accept, which made every word out of Lu Xun's mouth a knife. The fight had already gone round the entire school and gutted his reputation. Being publicly humiliated at intervals on top of it drained whatever color remained from his life. Loathsome. I'll kill him. In a training room, He Xiao pounded the wall, furious and frantic and entirely helpless. Lu Xun was like a ghost. He went out, he was found within minutes. The challenge came. He didn't dare answer it. He was mocked in public. And afterward he had no heart left for training at all. He stopped leaving the school. Every time he appeared near the gates, Lu Xun turned up not far off, and He Xiao became convinced that if he actually stepped outside, Lu Xun would come for him. He Xiao despaired. Father. Avenge me. A week of it was all he could take. That weekend he rang his father to collect him from the school gates. He wanted to go home. He was going home. He wasn't staying, whatever anyone said. If Lu Xun kept at this he'd lose his mind. The moment he saw his father, He Xiao rushed over and burst into tears. He Xiao's in a bad way. Bullied until he cried. Why do I want to laugh, though? What could he possibly have done to earn this? Lu Xun's being a bit much. There's a story behind it. Lu Xun doesn't do this to anyone else. Quite. Some curious soul captured the scene, and it set Beidou University talking. The students found it thoroughly entertaining, none of them had witnessed anything like it. A second-year genius with heaven-and-earth extraordinary veins at the fourth stage of the Qi Si, bullied into pieces by a first year and reduced to weeping for his father to come and fetch him. A great many said they were enjoying it and hoped for more. I'm never provoking that man again. Lin Yan settled it firmly with himself. From now on, the sight of Lu Xun meant 30 meters of distance and a wall at his back. He Xiao had been driven half mad. If Lu Xun ever turned that attention on him, the results didn't bear thinking about. Ha! Brother Sun, you're a marvel. If I ever make an enemy, you're helping me deal with him. Li Bufan was delighted. Lu Xun, I hear you bullied He Xiao until he cried. Be careful, then. The He family are a petty lot. Chu Youqing had heard as well. She didn't even ask why, she simply told him to be careful. Lu Xun hadn't told her about the bounty. There was no sense worrying her. Once home, He Xiao applied for extended leave and showed no sign of returning. Lu Xun had lost a diversion. He'd been leaving the school rarely in any case, because Luo Dashing had told him the commission had gone up again, to 2 million units, and that it had been accepted. By whom, nobody knew. And this one was structured oddly enough that more than one taker was possible. The He family. Beyond any doubt. The revision settled it for him. He Xiao had been beaten half to pieces, and the family had raised the price to soothe his feelings. They were rich indeed, to produce 2 million units of dark energy on a whim. Lu Xun grew considerably more careful. Murong Wan has broken through to the third stage of the Qi Si. Host gains 20-fold what Murong Wan gained. The next return came a few days later. Murong Wan's pace was genuinely remarkable, and the Heaven-tier elixirs from Bailing had made her faster still, another stage inside a month of term beginning. The third stage of the Qi Si. Lu Xun's own strength surged. From the 8th stage of the Qi Si to the 9th, to the 10th, and onward to the peak of the 10th. And at the peak of the 10th stage, the heat inside him was still enormous. Am I going into the third realm? But instead of carrying him across, the heat went on widening his Qi Si, and Lu Xun ascended to the 11th stage. Good grief. He hadn't known there was an 11th stage of the Qi Si. Other martial artists stopped at the 10th. He'd gone past it. System, why no breakthrough to the third realm? The aperture opening realm requires opening all 108 secret apertures in the body and awakening a martial supernatural power. Returns within the Qi Si realm concern true energy and the Qi Si itself, and cannot readily carry the host across into the third realm. Should the host force a breakthrough now, the probability of awakening a rare martial supernatural power would be extremely low. Leave it, then. Lu Xun gave up on forcing the third realm with returns. He was growing fast enough as it was, there was no need to rush. Better to lay solid foundations and stand at the top of every realm he passed through. Besides, realm is one thing, and combat power is another. Back in the body-forging stage he'd handled Lin Yan comfortably, and Lin Yan had opened all 7 of his meridians. If he kept advancing within the Qi Si realm, to the 17th stage, the 18th, ordinary third realm cultivators wouldn't be a match for him. Chu Youqing has broken through to the 2nd stage of Qi condensation. Host gains 20-fold what Chu Youqing gained. 2 days later, Chu Youqing broke through as well. The 20-fold return carried Lu Xun from the 6th stage of Qi gathering straight to the 10th. 1 step short of the third realm. Lu Xun, I've been over the star and moon building and there's nothing wrong with it. You can train without worrying. Having broken into the 2nd stage of Qi gathering, Chu Youqing had meant to drag him out for the day. Lu Xun declined on the grounds of cultivation. The commission had been accepted, he couldn't afford carelessness. Seeing him so diligent, Chu Youqing didn't take it badly, she simply went to the star and moon building herself to check on things. The building was doing well, naturally. Carried along by Ling's Spirit Pill Pavilion, trade improved by the week. Lu Xun's range of movement had shrunk to Beidou University. Fortunately the place was enormous enough that staying inside it wasn't dull. Still training. Murong Wan really was a fanatic about it. Since that day, he hadn't seen her once. Her diligence was understandable. She wasn't in the position of an ordinary student at either university, she was 25. At that age, students of the 2 universities have long since graduated. Had she not possessed an exquisite treasure body, opened her exquisite veins, and been taken as a disciple by an elder of the Beidou Palace, she'd never have got in at all. Both universities have age limits. To put it precisely, she wasn't studying at Beidou University. She'd been placed there to train by an elder of the Beidou Palace. Another week, and the monthly assessment came round. The monthly test is a simple affair, it measures cultivation to see what progress has been made since the last one. Even if a cultivator hasn't gained a stage, the energy reading on the testing column will differ, and that counts as progress. Will the rookie board shift this month, do you think? It'll shift. Though I can't see first place changing. Nor I. In a month Murong Wan and Lu Xinghe can reach the third stage of the Qi at the outside. They can't have caught Lu Sun. He's still ahead. Do you suppose Lu Sun could be at the fifth stage? Students speculated all day about how the board would move. Lu Xinghe's at the third stage of the Qi. Wang Tingyan's reached the second. Not bad at all. Du Yuqi's at the second as well. At the testing center, several students had stationed themselves to report results online as they came. Miss Murong, this dark energy. Don't give it to me. Give it to Yuqing, she needs it more. All right. Outside the testing center, Lu Sun met Murong Wan again. The dark energy he'd been trying to hand over remained undelivered, she wouldn't take it, and there was nothing to be done. Their situation remained delicate and awkward. Privately, Murong Wan rather dreaded running into him. Murong Wan's here. Heads turned the moment she entered. She walked to the testing column and delivered a full-strength strike. Ding! Third stage of the Qi, and a higher energy reading than Lu Xinghe. The students were thoroughly impressed. Murong Wan didn't linger, she left immediately. Lu Sun's here. Heads turned again. And then, instead of going to the column, Lu Sun walked toward someone in the crowd. So the coward who won't take a challenge has finally come back to school. He said it flatly, looking at He Xiao. Who are you calling a coward? I'm at the fifth stage of the Qi. He Xiao had, it seemed, converted his humiliation into fuel and broken through. Have you? Then I'll see you in the ring afterward. Lu Sun said it lightly. He Xiao faltered. Fifth stage or not, he'd no real confidence about the ring. The beating had gone into him too deeply. Useless. Lu Sun turned away toward the testing column. He Xiao's face went scarlet. He badly wanted to say fine, let's fight, and couldn't get it out. He wanted to see Lu Sun's result first. Ding! Fifth stage of the Qi. A month into term and he's at the fifth stage. The testing center erupted. How? Despair came into He Xiao's eyes. He had finally reached the fifth stage of the Qi. 1 month, and Lu Sun had come straight up alongside him. Another month and he'll simply pass me. There was no chance whatever of He Xiao reaching the sixth stage inside a month. He knew his own limits. He wasn't that kind of genius. Ding! And it wasn't finished. Second stage of Qi gathering. The testing center boiled over again. Is this what a monster looks like? I told you. My brother Lu is the only real thing in this school. A shame about the dual cultivation, though. The students were staggered, and a few made a point of raising dual cultivation purely to spoil the mood. The monthly assessment set off no small amount of discussion. Though discussion passes quickly, the moment the assessment ended, everyone went back to training, and few wasted much time online. Blue Star had been accelerating lately. The crossing onto the ancient Star Road came closer by the day, and every student felt the clock running. A week later, without warning, Lu Sun collected the returns from Murong Wan's sword training. The formless sword of 10,000 tribulations. Passed through to Lu Sun, the Tai sword art had become something else entirely. The name had changed. So, considerably, had the power. Lu Sun stood with a long sword in hand, brow faintly furrowed, concentrating on setting the true energy vibrating through his body. His wrist turned, and the blade drew strange paths through the air, cutting again and again at the boulder before him, a thing taller than a man. The strokes looked disordered, like a beginner swinging at random. Watch closely, though, and there was something hidden in the disorder. Every cut seemed to answer something in the air around it, and carried a rhythm that resisted description. A few seconds later he stopped and sheathed the blade. The boulder stood untouched. Not a mark on it. Lu Xun clapped his hands. The air shook, and that set off the rest of it. Cracks spread across the stone's surface like a spider's web, and then it came apart with a roar, collapsing into hundreds of sharp-edged fragments. What a sword energy! He crouched and picked up a shard, running a fingertip across a face smooth as a mirror, surprise flickering in his eyes. Every cut surface was mirror-flat. There was no question what had done it. The sword energy had been sharp enough to divide the boulder into hundreds of pieces while leaving it standing whole, and only when he clapped did the stone seem to realize it was no longer one thing. A very good sword art indeed. Returned through the binding, the Tai sword art had become the formless sword of 10,000 tribulations, and the first form alone had made his sword energy this keen. The art's other strength lay in its shapelessness. The strokes have no fixed form, the blade passes through empty space, and the movements are like flowers in a mirror, or the moon on water, as unfixed and unpredictable as cloud. Put simply, no technique surpasses technique. I'll want a proper sword. He'd exchanged dark energy for this one at the school's supply department, which carried a great deal, elixirs, weapons, armor, fine clothing. The quality was decent enough, a little above ordinary. Anything better meant spending heavily outside, or placing well in the school's competitions and the year-end rankings, which carried a chance of that sort of reward. This sword had cost him 2,000 units of dark energy, and it was thoroughly unremarkable. 2 nights later, late. Xiao Bai became Princess Barbara again. She surfaced once a month, and only for 2 or 3 minutes at a time. I told you to stop bathing me. The moment she woke she received the past month's memories, and her fur stood on end as she batted both front paws at the air. She didn't, however, come flying at him to kill him this time. Lu Xun propped himself up on one elbow, unhurried. If I were you, I'd not waste the time on complaints that change nothing. That does seem true. Barbara tilted her head, ears twitching, and the outrage drained out of her at once. Well. I didn't lie to you. That spell is useful. She lifted her tail, blue cat's eyes bright with pride. It is useful, Lu Xun agreed. Would you like the second? She padded closer and dropped her voice. A support spell. It doubles your combat power for a short time. And if you cast it more than once, she paused deliberately, the effect accumulates. Doubled combat power. And it stacks. Go on. He raised an eyebrow and kept his face still. Attend closely. This one is long. She cleared her throat and recited it, carefully, and 5 times over, until she was satisfied he had every syllable. In the moonlight, the cat's whiskers trembled faintly with the words. Here's my blood. Try it, and I'll hear whether you have the pronunciation. She held out a bead of blood on one paw. She was eager about it, eager enough to make Lu Xun suspicious. The princess was the princess and Xiao Bai was Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai was only the body's instinct while Barbara's consciousness slept, and it was the instinct that had proven the more trustworthy of the two. With her consciousness awake, Barbara was perfectly capable of playing games with him. Later. It's a long spell and takes some precision. 1 syllable wrong and it does nothing at all. You're certain you don't want me to check? Barbara blinked at him. Suppose you tell me first why you're teaching me these. Nothing in this world comes free. He held her eyes as he asked it. Simple enough. I want you to break the curse on me. That's beyond you at present, so I'll give you what help I can, and see you grow. She said it perfectly seriously. Break a curse. Lu Xun rubbed his chin. Why me? If it's help you want, the powers of the East are a far better bet. No. Barbara shook her head, firmly, the moonlight throwing something strange across her eyes. This is fate's choosing. And my one chance to turn it around. Fate's choosing. Just so. She came a step nearer, her voice dropping to something like a whisper. After the sleeping curse was laid on me, I was never going to wake again, until I met you. An odd light came into her cat's eyes. Your aura is peculiar. It even loosens the spell a little. If that isn't fate, what is? An aura strange enough to loosen a curse. Lu Sun thought of the chaos divine body, and thought it entirely possible. If the threefold curse on me can be lifted, Murong. She didn't finish. Her voice slipped back into a cat's, and her consciousness sank away, and she was Xiao Bai once more. Barring the unexpected, she'd surface again next month. Once Barbara had gone under, Lu Sun tried the spell with the bead of blood from Xiao Bai's claw. The second incantation was harder. Even using the blood, and even reciting the words correctly, he couldn't get it to take. And when he went to try again, the blood was gone. One drop, one attempt. I'll learn it properly when she wakes next month. He didn't dwell on it, and went back to sleep. It was light before 5 the next morning. Blue Star had been building speed lately, drawing on the gravity of other stars, and the crossing into the dark universe came nearer by the day. One result was that the alternation of day and night had grown irregular. At Beidou University one hardly saw a student by daylight. Every one of them was training flat out, even the numbers in the canteen had fallen away sharply, with a good many preparing high-energy food in advance rather than lose the time to meals. In the whole of Beidou University, Lu Sun remained the idlest person in residence. 2 commissions on his life were still live on the dark web, so he never left the grounds, and lay about inside them quite comfortably. Chu Youqing was plainly training with everything she had. She used to message nearly every day, lately it had become about once a week. Murong Wan never made contact at all, Lu Sun generally saw her only at the month-end assessment. Boom! In a training room, a talisman went off at his touch and blew a stone to fragments. Quite respectable. He was pleased with it. He couldn't cultivate, but lying flat left a man time to think, and he'd been thinking about talismans. Talismans belong to the immortal road. The martial road emphasizes the self, the immortal road has no shortage of ways to borrow power from elsewhere. Even a cultivator whose progress stalls can take up the side arts, alchemy, weapon refining, formations, talismans, puppetry. Murong Wan has broken through to the 4th stage of the Qi Si. Host gains 20-fold what Murong Wan gained. The return arrived without warning that day. Excellent. Murong Wan's pace was frankly astonishing. She'd broken into the Qi Si realm barely a fortnight after opening her meridians. Going from the 1st stage to the 2nd had taken her over a month, but that was family business eating her time. Once she could concentrate, she'd reached the 3rd stage in 20 days. And now, 20-odd days later, the 4th, while also putting time into her martial arts. The exquisite treasure body really is a physique born for cultivation. Comfortable. Lu Sun went straight to the 13th stage of the Qi Si. His Qi Si had become enormous with it, an ocean without visible limit. The sheer weight of his true energy now stood comparison with some third-realm cultivators. Murong Wan has broken the 1,000 traces step through to its 2nd level. Host gains 20-fold what Murong Wan gained. Host's myriad sect step has been upgraded, divine sect step. Another return came a week later. Having reached the 4th stage of the Qi Si, Murong Wan had brought her 1,000 traces step to its 2nd level, and Lu Sun's myriad sect step was upgraded again, into the divine sect step. Chu Youqing has broken through to the 3rd stage of Qi gathering. Host gains 20-fold what Chu Youqing gained. A few days after that, Chu Youqing broke through as well, and Lu Sun collected happily. 11th stage of Qi gathering. As with Murong Wan, the return didn't carry him into the 3rd realm, it took him to the peak of the 11th stage of Qi gathering instead. A stage a month. It really is a stage a month. He's past the 5th already, and gaining a stage every month. Keep that up and he'll break the university's records. And remember, he's cultivating both roads. Both roads, at that speed. How is he doing it? The month-end assessment came round again, and Lu Sun's results drew the usual attention. A good many students were startled even though they'd expected it, a stage every month, on both the Immortal and Martial roads simultaneously. Nothing in Beidou University's history matched it. Lu Sun listened to the talk around him and only smiled faintly, saying nothing. If they knew what I actually stand at, it would frighten them. 30 years on one bank of the river, 30 on the other. The prouder you are now, the worse it will be later. He Xiao sneered it out. He'd given up entirely on catching Lu Sun. After this month Lu Sun's cultivation had passed his outright, and reaching the 6th stage of the Qi Si himself would take 3 months at best. Senior He, let's go. Lin Yan had noticed Lu Sun's gaze and was urging him away. He Xiao's expression shifted, and he fled. He came to the school rarely now, and dreaded running into Lu Sun still more. Your words are right, but the pronunciation is wrong, and so is the length you hold some of the syllables. The length? Of course. Each syllable must be held for exactly its measure, no longer, no shorter. The first spell was simplified by the royal house, otherwise it would be 10 times harder than this one. Barbara surfaced again a few days later and wasted no time on anything but the lesson. There was a great deal to attend to. It looks like a single sentence and is nothing like as simple as that. Lu Sun was, in fact, taking a shortcut by using her blood. He had no magic in his body and couldn't cast at all otherwise, and even with magic, spells like these demand real accomplishment in the art. You're not going to manage it. We'll try again next month, Murong. 2 minutes on, her consciousness sank away, and Lu Sun still hadn't learned it. Lu Sun, I've put the Spirit Pill Pavilion's share into your account. Chu Youqing messaged at the end of the month. Lu Sun hadn't left the school in nearly 2 months. Bai Ling's Spirit Pill Pavilion grew busier all the time. Nearly everything she refined was heaven tier, and word had got onto the wider internet somehow, so it wasn't only students from the 2 universities now, students from other cultivation schools, and cultivators from outside entirely, were coming to buy. The monthly share kept climbing. Chu Youqing insisted on giving him half of it, and in the end Lu Sun let her have her way. She wasn't short of dark energy at present, he could simply hold it and give it back when she needed it. Murong Wan broke through again halfway through the new month, and Lu Sun went to the 15th stage of the Qi Si. Chu Youqing followed not long after. There's no stopping this. Lu Sun was thoroughly delighted. Less than 3 months into term, he stood at the 15th stage of the Qi Si and the 13th of Qi Gathering. The rate of it was absurd. Shortly after her 3rd stage breakthrough, Chu Youqing learned the flying sword art, the essential skill of the Immortal Road's 2nd realm. What she'd learned was the common form of it, which asks for no great subtlety, its power rests chiefly on cultivation and on control of the blade. Returned to Lu Sun at 20-fold, it had become the shadowless flying sword art, considerably more formidable than the ordinary version. Yes, boss. Miss Bai's shut herself in for a week now. She's stayed indoors the whole time and I've no idea what she's about. The news reached Lu Sun without warning. It's no exaggeration to say the Spirit Pill Pavilion earned a fortune daily. Lu Sun had done nothing but let out half a shop front and he still drew 40% of the profits, money out of clear air. With Bai Ling's command of alchemy she'd have done good business anywhere. And now she'd shut the doors without warning. Has she decided I'm taking too much? He couldn't afford to let a money tree like that walk away. Quite apart from the profits, her elixirs had played no small part in how fast Chu Youqing and Murong Wan were climbing. While Bai Ling was here, Lu Sun had first call on anything she made. He decided to go and see for himself. Both commissions were still live on the dark web, but his strength now bore no comparison to what it had been. A 3rd realm cultivator had no prospect of killing him, and even against a 4th realm assassin he could trade blows for a while. Qingbei Street sat between the two universities in any case, he'd only need to hold out briefly. So he made himself unremarkable and went out. Closed indeed. He stood in front of the Spirit Pill Pavilion, looking at the locked door, faintly frowning. Even after a full week there were still people waiting outside hoping to buy, which said everything about how good her pills were. He went up to the third floor and knocked. "Who is it?" Bai Ling's voice came through, with an edge of exhaustion in it. She'd shut the shop and stayed inside, then. "It's me. Lu Sun." "Oh, a moment." Her voice sounded normal enough, though he could hear a certain amount of hurried activity behind the door. Refining, evidently, rather than closing up shop. It was better than 10 minutes before the door opened. "Boss. It's been a while." Bai Ling stood behind it, producing a smile with visible effort. "Bai Ling, what's happened to you?" Bai Ling was, in the ordinary way, genuinely pretty, not Murong Wan's stunning quality, nor Chu Youqing's clarity, but bright and lively. At present her face was smudged, several strands of hair were stuck to her forehead, and the rest of it was thoroughly disordered. Worse were the dark rings under her eyes, she looked as though she might fall over. How long since she last slept? "I'm fine." Bai Ling rubbed her eyes and yawned. "It's the alchemy. I've been trying to refine a third-grade elixir and I haven't managed it." Her shoulders sagged as she said it. A third-grade elixir. That's the grade corresponding to third-realm cultivators. Refine one and you're a third-grade alchemist by definition. Bai Ling could already produce second-grade heaven-tier elixirs, so an ordinary third-grade pill shouldn't trouble her. She was presumably reaching for something of far higher quality, and had reduced herself to this over it. "I'm glad you're all right. I heard you'd shut yourself in and I was a little worried, so I came to look in on you." His tone softened. "That's kind of you, boss." She smiled sweetly. Then, immediately, "Boss, are you a cultivator?" "I am." "How wonderful. I wish I could cultivate." She said it with real envy. Lu Sun checked. "You're not a cultivator." "No. I've no cultivation at all, otherwise I'd certainly have managed a third-grade pill by now." "No cultivation." Lu Sun looked her over, and didn't quite believe it. No cultivation, and refining second-grade elixirs, heaven-tier second-grade elixirs at that. Skill in alchemy isn't directly tied to one's cultivation, true, but without cultivation behind you, even moderately high-grade pills are out of reach. Seeing his doubt, Bai Ling explained. "It isn't that I've no ability at all. I can raise my spiritual power with pills, and I can control that spiritual power well enough to refine. But there's something wrong with my spirit veins. I can't cultivate spiritual power for myself." Ah. So Bai Ling couldn't cultivate either, though her situation was nothing like his. Lu Sun was forbidden to cultivate, not incapable of it, even under the ban he could absorb dark energy to replenish his spiritual power and true energy. Bai Ling couldn't. She depended entirely on pills for her spiritual power, and that power wouldn't remain in her body for long. Something wrong with her spirit veins. I wonder what. And with no cultivation whatsoever, working purely on spiritual power borrowed from elixirs, she could still produce second-grade heaven-tier pills. A genuine prodigy of alchemy. "Boss, someone's asking for you." The manager came up. "Who?" "Someone from the Jia Group." The Jia Group. The alchemy conglomerate behind Jia's body-strengthening pills and meridian-opening pills. "Boss, may I ask you a favor?" Bai Ling spoke up suddenly. Lu Sun noticed she looked nervous, worrying at her lower lip. "Tell me what it is. If I can do it, I will. They'll almost certainly offer to buy the shop from you at a high price. Will you refuse them?" "I won't ask it for nothing, I'll raise your share of the Spirit Pill Pavilion by another 20%. "Another 20. That's 60. Bai Ling refined everything herself. Lu Sun supplied a room, and would now take 60% of the proceeds. A man could search by lantern light for an arrangement like that. What is it about this street? Why does she insist on this shop specifically? All right. You have my word. Thank you, boss. You're very kind. Bai Ling let out a breath and smiled. Lu Sun went down and met the Jia Group's people below. There were 3 of them. The one in front was a middle-aged man in formal dress with a heavy presence about him, 3rd realm at the least, by Lu Sun's estimate. Boss. Are you interested in doing business with us? He stood with his hands behind his back and his chin slightly raised, looking down. What business? Lu Sun folded his arms and asked evenly. Your lease runs 3 years, I believe. For the remaining 2.5, we'll give you 100,000 units of dark energy outright, or 200 million in cash. Sell us the premises. So Bai Ling was right. 100,000 units, or 200 million. Not a low price at all, even with a share of the Spirit Pill Pavilion's takings, 100,000 units isn't easily come by. Which suggested Bai Ling had made them feel genuinely threatened, and they'd come to buy her out of position. And then something struck him as wrong. The Jia Group was an enormous thing. Their pills sold across the country and well beyond its borders. Their shop on Qingbei Street was a fragment of that business. Bai Ling might refine second-grade heaven-tier elixirs, but she was one person. How much of the Jia Group's business could she possibly take? More to the point, with her skill, even if Lu Sun sold the premises out from under her, she'd simply open elsewhere and be mobbed again inside a week. And yet Bai Ling would sooner surrender 60% of her profits than move, as though the point were specifically to stand against the Jia Group. And the Jia Group would sooner spend a fortune buying the Star and Moon building than compete with her. There's history here. And I appear to be standing in the middle of it. I'm sorry. This shop isn't for sale. Still turning it over, Lu Sun refused the offer. Boss, don't be so quick about it. Suppose we add a bottle of Jia's origin condensation pills, or aperture opening pills. The middle-aged man wasn't finished, and produced another condition. Origin condensation pills. Aperture opening pills. Any cultivator at the peak of the 2nd realm would have started breathing faster at the names. Crossing from the 2nd realm to the 3rd is no small matter. A cultivator of ordinary talent can sit at the peak of the 2nd for years without managing it. With an origin condensation pill or an aperture opening pill in hand, the odds improve enormously. The origin condensation pill serves immortal cultivators, and is also called the Foundation Establishment Pill, the Immortal Road's 3rd realm being the origin condensation realm, otherwise known as foundation building. That realm matters a great deal. Break through it and you count as a figure of standing among cultivators. The Martial Road's 3rd realm is aperture opening, and the aperture opening pill eases that crossing in the same way. Both are standard 3rd-grade elixirs, and any specimen with real quality to it sells for an extraordinary price. The Jia Groups are priced accordingly, and aren't easy to obtain at any figure. And they were willing to surrender a bottle for one small building on Qingbei Street. There's a grudge here beyond question. Opposite him, the middle-aged man waited calmly for the answer, evidently certain of it. Those were Jia Group origin condensation and aperture opening pills, after all. I'm sorry. This shop isn't for sale. To his visible surprise, Lu Sun refused again. 50,000 units of dark energy, plus the elixirs. Agree to the transfer and the dark energy goes into your account today. I'd rather not say it a 3rd time. Good day to you. Lu Sun refused without pausing to think. 50,000 units was genuinely a great deal, and as he stood now, he didn't particularly care. Besides, the building was what Murong Wan had left to Chu Youqing. She'd handed him every decision about it, which was not the same as license to sell it out from under her. Boss. Would you care to reconsider? The man's face darkened. I believe I've been clear. Lu Sun's expression cooled. Refused twice, and he's still standing here being condescending. Who exactly is supposed to be intimidated? The man studied his face for a few seconds, made a small contemptuous sound, and left, back across the street to Jia's shop. Thank you, boss. I really was afraid you'd agree to them. Bai Ling came out from behind once he'd gone, thoroughly grateful. I gave you my word, and I'll keep it. Concentrate on your refining, and don't exhaust yourself. She nodded hard. Meanwhile, on the third floor of Jia's shop, the middle-aged man had returned and now stood, head bowed respectfully, before a woman in her 20s. Third Mississippi. The owner of the Star and Moon building won't sell. Won't he? The third young lady raised her head slowly, tapping the table with one finger. No, Third Mississippi. I raised the offer twice. I hadn't expected him to be so unappreciative. The man's teeth were set. 50,000 units and a bottle of Foundation establishment pills, and it doesn't interest him. She considered. Managerly, look into him, find out precisely who he is. Then approach the landlord, offer enough, and have them forced out for breach of contract. Yes, Mississippi. He withdrew. Once he'd gone, the third young lady went to the window and looked across at the Star and Moon building. Below, 2 assistants were opening the doors of the Spirit Pill Pavilion. They've opened. Thank goodness I waited. The crowd outside surged in like a tide. Even people who'd come intending to buy at Jia's turned around and went to the Spirit Pill Pavilion instead. Miss, isn't her pill vein useless? How is she still this formidable? One of the maids beside her asked carefully. Since the high martial era arrived, the distance between people has widened steadily. In some great families, roles like maid and retainer have come back into use. However formidable she is, she'll never refine a third-grade elixir as long as she lives. The second maid began. That's enough. The third young lady's words shut both of them up at once. She watched the Spirit Pill Pavilion a long while, until at last a familiar figure crossed her view. The corner of her mouth curved. Dear sister. You didn't stay hidden, you came here deliberately. Then you can hardly complain about what follows. At the Star and Moon building, Lu Sun received a message and left in a hurry. The He family want to challenge me? That's right. He Zhao's cousin, He Chang. 4th year, just come out of 6 months seclusion, broke into the third realm the day before yesterday. He means to settle He Zhao's account. Third realm? Which is exactly why I say the He family have no shame. A 4th year at the third realm, challenging a 1st year at the second. Li Bufan laid it out over the phone. Someone had issued a formal challenge to Lu Sun at Beta University and staked 100,000 units of dark energy on it. If Lu Sun won, the stake was his. The whole school was discussing it, and the campus network was full of people arguing about whether he'd accept. Without heaven and earth extraordinary veins, how did he reach the third realm that fast? He Chang's details had gone round as well. He hadn't opened extraordinary veins, and had still made the third realm in his final year. Even so, the gulf between major realms is heaven and earth. He Chang's strength was far past anything a second-realm cultivator should be able to answer. He was thoroughly arrogant about it. He'd posted the declaration himself and was sitting at the ring waiting, which had drawn no shortage of spectators. If he wants a fight, he can have one. Having understood the situation, Lu Sun replied directly beneath the challenge. Only the third realm. Had it been a genius with heaven and earth extraordinary veins, he might have given it more thought. This one didn't even have those. The He family were flourishing, admittedly. He Xiao counted as a young genius, He Chang was hardly weak, and there was He Huan on the immortal road besides, the one they'd meant to marry to Chu Youqing to breed more children with spirit roots. Plenty of talent. And petty to the bone. The younger generation didn't scruple to bully those beneath them, while the elder generation quietly posted commissions on the dark web to have Lu Xun killed. In which case there was no reason for Lu Xun to be polite either. Having answered the challenge, he set off quickly for the school. Let's see what he Chong is worth. Mro. In his arms, Xiao Bai's ears went up and she made a low warning sound. Wrong. Lu Xun stopped. His hands moved, and several talismans began to circle him, defensive ones he'd drawn in his spare time. His command of talismanry was limited and they weren't especially strong, but having them beat not having them. He looked around. The noise of the street had gone. The scenery had blurred at the edges. It was as though he'd been cut out of the world entirely. A barrier. A barrier is a species of formation, more common in the West because magic makes them easier to raise. Western mages can seal a man off in the middle of a crowded city. Applause broke out. Good instincts. You're clearly the genius they talk about at Beta University, worth spending a barrier talisman on, and those cost tens of millions apiece. And with the applause, a figure appeared, plainly dressed, entirely unremarkable, the sort of man one passes on the street without a second glance. A dark web killer. Lu Xun narrowed his eyes slightly, studying the newcomer with perfect calm. His right hand had already settled quietly on the hilt of his sword. Judging by the pressure the man gave off, that was almost certainly what he was. So you know about the dark web? The killer raised an eyebrow. Lu Xun's composure had caught him off guard. He asked the question and moved in the same breath, turning into a bolt of thunder and closing on Lu Xun. Lu Xun shifted lightly, slipping aside like a ghost, and drew his blade in the same motion. A cold light flashed. Clang. 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 Sword shadows crossed and recrossed. In moments the two had traded more than 10 exchanges. Where their true chi collided, the air itself rippled. Without the barrier talisman, a fight of this magnitude would have been enough to draw the attention of the powerhouses at Peking and Tsinghua. But the talisman sealed every fluctuation inside. The outside world couldn't detect the slightest disturbance. That was exactly why this killer had dared to make his move on Qingbei Street. How can he be this strong? Only a few exchanges in, and the killer could no longer suppress his fear. According to the intelligence he'd been given, Lu Xun was at the 6th layer of Qi Hai. Nothing more. He himself had reached the 4th layer of Tongqiao, the middle stage of the 3rd realm. That gap wasn't a matter of a few layers. It was heaven and earth. It was the reason he'd been confident he could kill Lu Xun without effort. Now he understood he'd been wrong. Lu Xun was absurdly strong. This is not the 6th layer of Qi Hai. By his own senses, Lu Xun was still within the Qi Hai realm, but not even a warrior at the 10th layer of Qi Hai carried true Qi this domineering, or Qi and blood this vigorous. He couldn't tell what layer Lu Xun actually stood at. Only one thing was certain. Lu Xun was not at the 6th layer of Qi Hai. Shrink the earth into an inch. The killer had no choice but to call on his martial art. The 3rd realm of the martial path is Tongqiao. A warrior at this realm is strengthened across the board, and gains martial abilities, some passive, some active. Opening the 9 eye orifices at the 1st layer of Tongqiao grants passive abilities such as weak candle discerning subtleties, condensed light through flaws, and reading patterns at 100 paces. There is also a chance of awakening something far greater, the divine eye, the delusion-piercing eye, the 1,000-mile eye, but the odds are vanishingly small. The 2nd layer opens the 9 ear orifices, granting abilities tied to hearing. The 3rd layer is the domain of the nasal orifices, the 4th that of the foot orifices. This killer stood at the 4th layer of Tongqiao. He had opened dozens of secret acupoints, and his strength had risen accordingly. He had also obtained the ability to shrink the earth into an inch. His figure blinked in and out of sight. His speed multiplied several times over, and he ranged across the battlefield at will. But Lu Xun's divine step was every bit as refined. Each time the killer's strike was about to land, Lu Xun slid neatly out of its path. Clang! 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 The clash between them kept escalating. So this is all the third realm amounts to. The longer the fight went on, the more Lu Xun's confidence grew. He spent less and less time evading with the divine step, and began meeting the man head-on instead. 10,000 tribulations formless sword. What kind of swordsmanship is this? Several times the killer came within a hair of being cut down. If he hadn't been able to fold the distance to an inch, he'd have been finished long ago. That shook him badly. Once a third realm warrior awakens the supernatural power of sight, he can pick out an enemy's weaknesses and read his attacks before they land. But he could find no weakness in the 10,000 tribulations formless sword, and he couldn't predict a single one of its movements. Damn it! I can't drag this out any longer. The killer decided to use his trump card. He snatched out an object and was about to trigger it. Then. Danger. His eyelid twitched and he threw himself aside. A streak of cold light tore through the afterimage he'd left behind. A flying sword. The killer's blood ran cold. As a third realm warrior he had nothing to fear from ordinary flying swords. But Lu Xun's, in speed, in force, was a genuine threat to him. WHSH, WHSH, WHSH. More flying swords came shrieking in, driving the killer into a scramble and leaving him no opening to use his trump card. This is bad. Death closed on him again. He dodged hard to one side, then dodged again. Shrinking the earth into an inch was worth more than a dozen ordinary body arts and martial techniques. And just as he thought he'd slipped the last of Lu Xun's killing strikes and could finally trigger his card, something felt wrong. He looked down. Only half of him was still there. The next instant more sword light poured in, and several flying swords struck him at once. What remained of the dark web killer hit the ground with a heavy thud. He died with his eyes open. A seasoned warrior at the fourth layer of the third realm, and he had almost certainly never imagined he would one day die at the hands of a second realm cultivator. A fourth-grade thunder and fire talisman, heh. Lu Xun took the talisman from the dead man's hand, the one he'd never managed to activate. An offensive talisman. Fourth grade. Fourth grade corresponded to the fourth realm. Which meant it posed a real threat even to fourth realm cultivators. But only a threat. The true purpose of a fourth grade talisman was dealing with cultivators below the fourth realm. Anyone under that line who caught one head-on would die, unless they had proper defenses ready. This killer had clearly been well funded. First he sealed Lu Xun off with a barrier talisman, then came prepared with a weapon like a fourth-grade spirit talisman. He simply never imagined Lu Xun would be this strong. Strong enough to kill him without spending a single talisman in return. Though really, the man had only his own hesitation to blame. If he'd used the thunder and fire talisman from the very first exchange, Lu Xun would have been in genuine danger. Villains die because they talk too much. So Lu Xun made a decision: in future, if he intended to kill someone, he'd do it properly and not waste a word on them. Hello, is this the police hotline? I need to report an incident. Teacher Fei, I've run into a small problem. A few minutes later, as the barrier talisman finally lost its effect and the students around him began to scream, Lu Xun calmly took out his phone, reported the incident, and notified Fei Taiye. You think Lu Xun's actually going to show? Nah. Lu Xun isn't stupid. Honestly, I wouldn't come either. That's the third realm, man. The gap's way too big. You'd have to be out of your mind to walk in here and get pounded. Yeah, and the He family started it. Picking on someone weaker. Shoo, keep your voice down. At Beidou University, hundreds of students had gathered beneath a ring. A man in white stood on the platform. He Chang, of the He family. Ever since he'd publicly declared war on Lu Xun, he had been waiting here. He'd announced he would wait 3 days. And if Lu Xun didn't dare show up within those 3 days, then every time he laid eyes on him from then on, he'd call him a coward to his face. He'd learned that move from Lu Xun himself. It was the same tactic Lu Xun had used to wreck He Xiao. Even so, senior student, third realm and all, not many students were on He Chang's side. Bullying the weak has never won anyone respect. Most of the students came from ordinary families, and they had little affection for wealthy clans like the He. Brother He, I doubt Lu Xun will even dare respond. Humph. I don't think he'll dare either. Lin Yan and He Xiao stood below the ring as well. He Chang had broken through to the third realm, heard what had happened to He Xiao, and immediately set out to avenge him. He Chang was the stronger of the two, but within the He family, his standing didn't match He Xiao's. Lu Xun's back. Lu Xun's back. A student had spotted something. What? Look under the challenge post, the account called Schrodinger's Lu. That's Lu Xun. You want to fight, then let's fight. Holy, he actually accepted. Brother Sun is unreal. He took that. The gap's massive though. Can he even win? Win or lose, Brother Sun's a real man. The crowd came alive. Nobody had expected Lu Xun to accept. He actually answered. Lin Yan saw the reply too, disbelief written across his face. He had been at odds with Lu Xun for as long as anyone could remember, and he could not understand where the man found the nerve. That was the third realm. Compared to a second realm cultivator, the strength there was a difference in kind, not degree. Lu Xun was at the 6th or 7th layer of Qi Hai at best. How was he supposed to fight someone in the third realm? If he wants to be beaten into the ground, then let him have it. He Xiao's eyes gleamed, as though he could already see Lu Xun crumpling under He Chang's fists. The news that Lu Xun had accepted He Chang's challenge tore through Beida University. It was the weekend, so it spread even faster. The crowd beneath the ring kept swelling, and before long it had passed 1,000. Students who'd been in the middle of training broke off and came running to watch. Student Lu Xun. We have a reasonable picture of what happened. You may go. All right. Qingbei Street. The matter of the dark web assassin's death had been dealt with. Once the Marshal Bureau's people arrived, they'd made a brief investigation and closed it out. They were plainly curious about how a second realm student had killed a third realm assassin, but given who Lu Xun was, they didn't press. Which genius doesn't keep a few secrets? That wretch dared to try and kill my student. Lu Xun, go back to the school. I'll buy you something worth having. Fei Taiye was angry enough that his beard bristled. Unbothered by the world he might be, that didn't mean he thought little of Lu Xun. He'd once resolved to reform himself entirely for the boy's sake, until a single remark of Lu Xun's had gone straight through his defenses and sent him back to the bottle. That's Lu Xun. Didn't he accept He Chang's challenge? What's he doing here? A third realm assassin from the dark web tried to kill him, apparently. He killed the assassin instead. Lu Xun killed a third realm assassin. Students recognized him as he passed and the talk started at once, some drawing breath, some wide-eyed, most simply disbelieving. Lu Xun. The brightest talent of Beida University's new intake. Extraordinary veins on both roads, cultivating both immortal and martial, and now he's killed a third realm assassin. Interesting. No wonder he refused to sell to us. And I wonder what exactly you are to my sister Bai Ling. On the third floor of Jia's shop, the third young lady watched his retreating figure from a distance, a small smile at her lips. At Beida University, near the ring, Murong Wan's arrival drew a great many eyes. She stood quietly in the crowd and still stood out from it entirely. She hadn't dressed for the occasion, she didn't need to. It isn't that Beida University lacks beautiful women, it's rare to find one like Murong Wan. A good many women's beauty is helped along by other things, standing, position, cultivation. Murong Wan's was simply her own. She'd been called the loveliest woman in Rongqing with no cultivation whatsoever. Now, with an exquisite treasure body and her cultivation climbing in leaps, and a genius's reputation besides, she was rather more striking still. Lu Xinghe, that's Lu Xinghe. Another figure arrived, Lu Xinghe, bearer of the galaxy holy body. He was rarely seen in public, and he'd come out for this. He drew no shortage of attention from the girls present. In looks alone, Lu Xinghe would have made a passable idol in the old days. He glanced across at Murong Wan, then returned his attention to Chang. Worth fighting. 3 minutes of observation gave him his answer. Third realm or not, Lu Xinghe believed he could take him. Whether the result would be a win, a loss or a draw didn't much concern him. What the galaxy holy body excels at is combat power. Lu Xinghe stood only at the 4th stage of the Qi Si, and gave very little weight to ordinary cultivators at the 9th or 10th. With extraordinary veins on both roads, and given the sheer scale of that phenomenon, Lu Sun may well not lose this. Unlike the overwhelming majority of students, Lu Xinghe wasn't at all sure Lu Sun would. Others had come too, Wang Tingyan of the Wang family, and a number of the school's other bearers of heaven and earth extraordinary veins. Even some senior students had turned out to watch. Enormous news, a third realm assassin just tried to kill Lu Sun, and Lu Sun killed him. What? Is that true? A classmate of mine was there. It's true. That's not possible. The news out of Qingbei Street reached the crowd and set it churning. Absurd. Below the ring, He Xiao denied it on reflex. Ridiculous. A third realm assassin, killed by Lu Sun. Anyone at the third realm willing to move this close to the 2 universities would have to be genuinely skilled. You'd have to be simple to swallow news like that, Lin Yan said, shaking his head. He said it. His heart was hammering all the same, because Lin Yan suspected it was true. Lu Sun had produced too many impossible things since Lin Yan first set himself against him. So much so that his own opponent now had the reflex of believing the outrageous. Lu Sun killed the third realm assassin. How? On the ring, He Chang heard it too. Where most students disbelieved it instinctively, the news made his heart lurch and drained the color from his face. Very few people knew about the commission the He family had posted on the dark web. He Xiao didn't. Secrets survive by being kept, and the He family took confidentiality seriously. He Chang's father had told him about it after he broke into the third realm. And this challenge was his father's instruction as well. Lu Sun never left Beida University, so the killer had no opening. The purpose of the challenge was to work on Lu Sun's composure, to needle him the way he'd needled He Xiao, and ideally to push him into leaving the school for a break somewhere. Then the killer would have his chance. As it turned out, Lu Sun had left the school today, and had been marked. What He Chang hadn't allowed for was a third realm assassin, one willing to operate this close to the 2 universities, being killed by him. The news was so heavy he could barely stay upright. He'd broken into the third realm a few months into his final year, which counted as fast at Beida University. Only he knew it had been done on pills. Forcing it that way carries costs, an unstable foundation, and markedly weaker combat power for the realm. He Chang knew his own limits, and he knew he'd have stood no chance against that assassin. And if Lu Sun could kill the assassin, then Lu Sun could finish him in a few minutes. His heart began to pound entirely beyond his control. He was badly frightened, and had to keep his face still to avoid humiliating himself in front of the crowd. Fei Tai's generous enough. He'll have given Lu Sun something to fall back on. A student in the crowd offered the theory. That's my thought too. Fei Tai may be unbothered about most things, but he's genuinely good to Lu Sun. At his strength, a few life-saving cards, spirit talismans, combat pills, would be quite enough to let Lu Sun kill a third realm cultivator. The idea spread quickly, and more students took it up. That's it. That has to be it. He Chang's heart settled and his confidence began to return. The ring's rules are explicit. No external aids, no talismans, no combat pills. Nothing but what you can do yourself. And He Chang simply did not believe that he, at the third realm, could lose to a second realm opponent. That's Lu Sun. They say he accepted He Chang's challenge, and killed a third realm assassin outside the school on the way. Come on, follow him and see for yourself. The moment Lu Sun stepped back onto the grounds he became the center of everything. Students stopped where they were and trailed after him at a distance, murmuring to one another. He walked steadily and without hurry, straight toward Beidou Square. The crowd behind him grew as he went, until it moved like a tide. Brother Sun, you're incredible. Killing a third realm cultivator, He Chang was half frightened to death. Li Bufan appeared from nowhere, grinning and thoroughly excited. His own strength had climbed fast. 3 months after opening his meridians he stood at the peak of the second stage of the Qi Si, a single step from the third. Lu Sun's here. Someone called it out, and the noise in Beidou Square dropped away for a moment as every head turned at once. The crowd parted of its own accord, leaving a lane several meters wide, every eye on him. Most of those present were first years, though there were no few seniors among them. A great many had heard the name and were seeing him for the first time. He's rather good-looking. I'd thought Lu Xinghe had no equal for that, and here's someone better. Is this Beidou's top talent this year? More than a few of the girls present brightened and fell to talking quietly. Lu Sun's looks were striking to begin with, and the reputation of a monstrous genius layered something else over them, so that he seemed to carry a light about him that made it difficult to look away. He kept his composure, ignored the noise entirely, and walked to the ring. He's come. You dare show your face? Did you think circulating a rumor would frighten us? A pity, your psychological tricks are wasted here. He Xiao stared at him coldly, a mocking smile on his face. As he saw it, the news that had come back earlier could only be a smokescreen Lu Sun had released deliberately, meant to shake He Chang's fighting spirit and by the initiative. Beside him, Lin Yan quietly took half a step backward, putting He Xiao's body between himself and Lu Sun's line of sight. Who wants to challenge me? Lu Sun stopped below the ring and looked around. He didn't raise his voice, everyone heard him. I do. On the ring, He Chang answered loudly and drove the broadsword in his hand into the floor with a dull thud. So not every member of the He family is a coward. You've produced one man, at least. Lu Sun's mouth curved slightly. His tone stayed level, and his eyes went, meaningfully, to He Xiao. He Xiao's face darkened at once and his fists closed without his noticing. He'd never dared take Lu Sun's challenge, and it would remain the great stain on him. Short of beating Lu Sun himself one day, nothing would remove it. You're a fourth year, I'm a first year. You're at the third realm, I'm at the second. I won't accuse you of bullying anyone, but 100,000 units is thin. Why not raise it? If you dare. Lu Sun changed direction and looked up at He Chang. How much do you want added? However much you can produce. Whatever you put up, I'll match. He Chang frowned, and glanced instinctively at He Xiao. I doubt you can produce that much dark energy, He Xiao sneered. Who says my student can't produce dark energy? A lazy voice. Fei Tai had arrived. There's a good deal of dark energy on this card. Wager freely. If Lu Sun loses, whatever he owes, his teacher will answer for. Fei Tai produced a gold card and waved it slowly. That's a Blue Star Alliance gold card. They say you need a deposit of at least a cubic meter of dark energy to hold one. A cubic meter, that's 1,000,000 units. One of the students was knowledgeable enough to recognize it. A cubic meter of dark energy is 1,000,000 units, and worth better than 1,000,000,000. Then we'll wager a cubic meter. He Xiao said it hurriedly, before He Chang could speak. The He family were wealthy, naturally, but the family was large, and a cubic meter of dark energy was no trivial sum to He Xiao personally. He didn't have that much to hand. And with a chance to make a good deal of money in front of him, why not? He Chang's heart began to hammer again. Lu Sun had arrived and immediately moved to raise the stakes, and his instructor, far from stopping him, had come over to pour oil on it. Can you produce a cubic meter? Can you produce a cubic meter? Lu Sun asked He Xiao. Certainly. I don't believe it until it's in front of me. Then take it. He Xiao set his teeth, stepped aside and made a call. A few minutes later he produced a card. There's a cubic meter of dark energy on this. Win, and it transfers immediately. Evidently he'd got it from home. Good. That's the wager, then. Lu Sun agreed at once. Panicked as he was, He Chang had no room left to withdraw. He couldn't show weakness now. A third-realm genius who'd gone looking for the fight himself, frightened off by a rumor of uncertain origin, where would he put his face afterward? Better to try. I may not lose. He was at the third realm. A cubic meter, isn't that a bit steep for a wager? Steep. It's astronomical. If Lu Sun wins, he's made for life. The crowd was thoroughly stirred by the size of it. Even for students of the two universities, a cubic meter of dark energy is an enormous figure, and wagers on that scale are vanishingly rare here. The rules of the ring are simple. No external aids, no talismans, no elixirs. No killing. No crippling an opponent's foundation. If either party concedes, the other stops immediately. With the bet settled, the teacher overseeing the ring ran through the rules, as he did every time students fought. Then he stepped back and raised a protective formation to keep the backwash of the fight inside the ring. Lu Sun took his place opposite He Chang. He Chang held his broadsword, the power in him surging, his presence climbing hard. Across from him, Lu Sun drew his sword without ceremony. Strike first. Otherwise you'll say I bullied someone weaker. Having brought his momentum to its peak, He Chang offered him the opening, not out of modesty, but because he preferred to counter, meeting movement with stillness. Bullying someone weaker? No. This is bullying someone bigger. Lu Sun hadn't finished speaking before he vanished. Fast. He Chang's pupils shrank. He'd only just entered the third realm, his sight had been opened, and his moving vision was sharp enough to track a bullet cleanly. And he could not follow Lu Sun's movement at all. Wild wind sword art. He went straight to defense, the broadsword whirling into a storm, a curtain of steel closing around him. Steel rang on steel again and again. Lu Sun's attacks came down like rain, and He Chang held. My turn. He was perfectly composed, and about to counter. Cold light flashed. Lu Sun's blade came round again, and several edges of sword energy tore through the air. No. Golden bell shroud. He Chang's scalp crawled. He threw his sword up to block and triggered his defensive art in the same motion. The sword energy he barely turned aside. But two flying swords came through like ghosts, passed straight through the golden bell, and drove into his shoulder and his thigh. I concede. He roared it out at the edge of real danger. Three flying swords pulled up short, their points less than an inch from his body. He Chang stood drenched in sweat, white-faced, blood at the corner of his mouth and more of it soaking through his clothes. Two flying swords had gone through him and he was badly hurt, though not in danger of his life. Feeble. Lu Sun raised a hand, and the flying swords came back to his sleeve like swallows returning to the nest. He Chang's combat power was far below the dark web assassins. Against Lu Sun as he stood now, he'd been nothing at all, beaten without Lu Sun using anything like his real strength. He's lost, He Chang conceded. What else could he do? Holding out would only have cost him more. A third realm cultivator, put down that fast. The crowd erupted, exclamations breaking over one another, thousands of students staring at each other in shock. Lu Sun wins. The teacher announced it. He Zhao's eyes went wide. That's impossible. The result stood in front of him, witnessed by thousands, and he still refused it. A third realm genius of the He family, beaten by Lu Sun. How was he supposed to accept that? Extraordinary. Cultivating both roads, and that strong in a fight. Sword energy in one hand and a flying sword in the other. Who's supposed to defend against that? How is he governing true energy and spiritual power at the same time? It takes everything I have to manage one of them. The crowd below the ring was still inside the fight, talking it over furiously. His flying sword went through a golden bell. In the crowd, Lu Xinghe's eyes narrowed. Ordinary students watched the spectacle, he was watching for the mechanism. There's a certain hierarchy of contempt between the roads. On Blue Star as it stands, immortal cultivators look down on martial cultivators, and martial cultivators look down on Western magic. In truth, every road leads to the same place, and any of them taken to its limit becomes unanswerable. An immortal cultivator's flying swords are exceptionally sharp through the early realms and hard to defend against. Martial cultivators have their answers. Break into the third realm and open the 9 apertures of the eyes, for instance, and one gains the moving sight and the awakened power that goes with it, enough to track a flying sword's path and respond. And defensive arts like the Golden Bell Shroud are the flying sword's natural counter. The Golden Bell Shroud can be performed from the first realm to the 6th and beyond, with wildly different results depending on the strength behind it. Once raised, it forms an all-round defense. A golden bell raised by a third-realm cultivator like He Chang should be extremely difficult for a second-realm immortal cultivator to break with a flying sword alone. And Lu Sun, cultivating both roads, had put a flying sword straight through it. Which was frankly alarming. And his swordsmanship. Lu Xinghe had noticed more than that. Lu Sun's sword work had been exceptional. The sword energy alone had forced He Chang into a total defense with nothing left over for anything else. Which meant that during the exchange, Lu Sun had been dividing his attention, attacking with sword energy and governing the flying swords at the same time. That kind of capacity is extremely rare. Lu Xinghe felt the pressure of it settle on him. He and Lu Sun had no quarrel, but they were geniuses of the same year, and who wouldn't want to measure himself? They were both at an age of full vigor. Living like a resigned middle-aged man would be a waste of the years. Is he really that strong? Elsewhere, something odd moved in Murong Wan's eyes. Just then Lu Sun glanced over, and their eyes met. He winked at her. Her cheeks went crimson and she looked away as though escaping. An interesting junior. It's been a long time since anyone like that came up. Why? Are you thinking of testing him? I'm 3 years older and about to break the 4th realm. I'd be laughed at. Rather more people had watched the fight than expected. On the roof of one of the teaching buildings, several figures stood looking down at it from a distance. Ha! My good disciple. Fei Taiye laughed, took a pull from his gourd, and made his unsteady way toward He Xiao. Your master will see the wager settled at once. He was afraid He Xiao might default. It was, after all, a full cubic meter of dark energy. Under Fei Taiye's eye, He Xiao went pale, set his teeth, and transferred the cubic meter to Lu Sun. Then he climbed onto the platform to help the badly wounded He Chang. As for Lin Yan, he'd already slipped away to a position several dozen meters clear of Lu Sun. He was thoroughly frightened of him now and hadn't the nerve to meet him face to face. The only person he still traded words with was Li Bufan, and the two of them fought occasionally. Li Bufan's defense was formidable and his offense ordinary, so Lin Yan had gradually worked out how to handle him, and most of their bouts ended in draws. Come along, disciple. Somewhere private, I've a few protective things for you. With the transfer done, Fei Taiye led Lu Sun away. And so He Chang's challenge ended. The aftershocks of it lasted a great deal longer, running through Beida University like wind and spreading to other schools. The news was true. Lu Xun really did kill a third realm assassin. There's video, if you don't believe it. The earlier report was confirmed by footage, the assassin lying dead in the street. I knew it. Obviously. He put down a third realm cultivator that easily in the ring. Killing a third realm assassin can hardly be a stretch. Dual cultivators are terrifying. Is it too late for me to open spirit veins? You'd do better going to sleep. Anything's possible in dreams. Beida University was shaken all over again. With these, disciple, you needn't fear even the fourth realm. But keep your head. The fourth realm is no small thing. If you meet one, use the speed talisman and get away. In a training room, Fei Tai handed over several protective treasures at once, all of them adequate against the fourth realm. A fourth-grade golden bell talisman, which raises a golden bell shield on activation and will hold an ordinary fourth realm cultivator better than a minute. A fourth-grade speed talisman, granting extreme speed for 3 minutes, the best thing going for escaping. A fourth-grade thunder pill, a combat pill triggered by true energy that floods an area with lightning, one use only. And a set of mithril soft armor, which will turn aside several strikes even from a fourth realm martial cultivator's sword intent, and blunt an ordinary flying sword for an immortal cultivator. To Lu Xun, all 4 were genuine treasures, each worth a fortune. Fourth-grade items sell at extraordinary prices whatever their quality. Fei Tai had bled heavily for this. Teacher, this is far too much. Lu Xun felt something close to guilt. Fei Tai really was good to him. At neither Qingshu College nor Beida University was there another instructor who gave to a student like this. Fei Tai waved it off, and something like remembrance moved in his clouded eyes. I'll not break the sixth realm in this life, I think. He tipped his head back for another pull at the gourd, his voice roughening. If I hadn't met your master's wife, back then, well. Let it lie. He said it so quietly that Lu Xun had no idea how to answer. Lu Xun was about to speak when something startling came into the old man's eyes. So, disciple. He gripped Lu Xun's shoulders firmly. Go and see the country above the 10th realm for me. Above the 10th realm. The words left Lu Xun blank for a moment. There is no acknowledged 10th realm power on Blue Star at present. What lies above the 10th is more legend than anything else. Some say it's the country of immortals and gods, somewhere human beings can hardly reach. Others say that if every scrap of dark energy on Blue Star were spent, it still wouldn't be enough to bring such a being into existence. Which put it a very long way from where Lu Xun stood. And there's something more important. Fei Tai clapped his shoulder. Lu Xun gathered himself and looked at him. The old man drained the gourd and said, Free me. Free him. Lu Xun stared. Teacher, aren't you free already? How is a man free, with his heart in a cage? The words hung in the air. Fei Tai was already gone, and only a faint smell of wine remained. Is the He family ever going to stop? In the dormitory, Lu Xun's face went cold. The bounty had been raised again, from 2 million units of dark energy to 4. Doubled outright. 4 cubic meters. The fight with He Chang had evidently enraged the He family and frightened them badly, and they'd resolved to see Lu Xun dead. At 1 or 2 cubic meters, a fourth realm cultivator might still hesitate. For is enough to make some of them take the risk. And the commission was posted on the dark web, where the fourth realm cultivators who frequent it are a mixed population at best. With profit enough on the table, a good many of them don't mind playing the assassin. Lu Xun, I heard a third realm assassin came after you. You're not hurt. Chu Youqing's voice came through in the evening, thick with worry. She'd have been training all day and only just heard. I'm fine. Thank goodness. I've been so worried. And I heard you beat the He family's third realm genius, Lu Xun, you're incredible. There was real admiration in it. They talked for a few hours, and it was well into the night by the time they finished. Opening the campus network, Lu Xun found it saturated with the Heechang fight. The news had gone through all of Beta University and reached Qingshu College and a good many other cultivation schools besides. What the students discussed most was the combat power of dual cultivation. Dual cultivation had been attempted before, and it does produce stronger fighters. Nobody had ever produced this. At the middle of the second realm, Lu Xun had beaten a third realm genius with that much ease. As for killing an assassin at the middle of the third realm, most students assumed some trump card had been involved and didn't dwell on it. Fighting above one's level is expected of a genius, but that means crossing a stage. The gulf between major realms isn't crossed so easily. And Heechang, extraordinary veins or no, had reached the third realm in his final year, which counts as genius outside these walls. He hadn't lasted half a minute. Lu Xun's combat power was, frankly, astonishing. Nobody's noticed. Looking it over, Lu Xun relaxed. Among the students, at least, no one could see what he actually stood at. He'd used very little of his extraordinary cultivation in that fight. What had won it was the sharpness of the formless sword of 10,000 tribulations, the shadowless flying sword art, and the sheer unreadability of the divine sect step. Without those, against an opponent with the open sight of the third realm, beating Heechang that quickly would have been difficult. Heechang hadn't lost unfairly. Those two martial arts and the one immortal art were all products of a 20-fold upgrade through the system, and stood well above their ordinary versions. As for whether any of the teachers could read his true cultivation, Lu Xun wasn't especially worried. In the high martial era, which genius doesn't keep secrets. So long as a man isn't possessed by something, or a traitor to his own people, the cultivation schools and Blue Star's powers are fairly tolerant of talent. And quite apart from anything else, the chaos divine body was strange enough that even a sixth realm power wouldn't see much. Cautious, then, but not paralyzed. So long as the system stayed hidden, nothing else mattered greatly. That's Lu Xun. It really is. The next day, Lu Xun walked out of the school gates in plain sight and headed for Qingbei Street. Assassinated the day before or not, he'd left the school again, deliberately, to see whether a fourth realm killer would come for him. And if one did, the killer wouldn't know what had happened to him. Because Fei Tai was watching from concealment. Lu Xun had arrived at the idea last night, after learning the He family had raised the price. Use himself as bait and draw the killer out. If Fei Tai handled a fourth realm assassin, it would deter the rest of them, and Lu Xun could stop living so carefully before Blue Star reached the ancient Star Road. It also gave Fei Tai something to do, which suited Lu Xun nicely. He wanted the old man roused a little. He simply didn't want him roused so far that he took to supervising the training every day. So he walked the whole way to the Star and Moon building without meeting anyone. Which was hardly surprising. A third realm assassin had died here yesterday, even a fourth realm killer who'd taken the commission wouldn't move today. "Boss, I heard someone tried to kill you yesterday. Are you all right?" On the third floor, Bai Ling brightened at the sight of him. "I'm fine." 3 words he'd said more than any others these past 2 days. "Boss, take these. If you're ever mortally hurt, they'll keep you alive." She handed him a bottle of pills. Lu Xun looked, everyone carried gold veining. Heaven tier, without question. Take the cost out of the profits. He'd no intention of exploiting her. "There's no need. You refused their offer and I haven't thanked you properly. Consider it my thanks." "Then thank you." He put the bottle away. "Oh, and take these talismans as well. They're second grade. I've no third realm spiritual power, so second grade is the best I can draw. The grade's low, but the effect is very good." Lu Xun examined them. Second grade or not, the quality was excellent, a great deal better than his own. The runework alone was dozens of times more intricate than anything he'd managed. You can draw talismans. He was genuinely surprised. Not only alchemy, then. My spirit veins are damaged and I can't cultivate, so I've had to think along other lines. Besides talismans, I've done some work on formations. She said it with a certain pride. Formations as well. Look, boss, I've laid a defensive formation over the whole building. It would hold off a third realm cultivator for a while. As though worried he wouldn't believe her, Bai Ling activated it, a small formation covering the entire star and moon building. Lu Sun tested it, and found she hadn't exaggerated. Breaking it would have taken him some time. The art of formations doesn't demand especially high cultivation, which was presumably how she'd managed it. Alchemy, talismans and formations are side paths, which doesn't make any of them simple. Without the talent for it, a man can study one his whole life and achieve very little. Making something of a side path is hard. Bai Ling did 3, and did all 3 well. Standing there in front of him, the bright, lively girl looked to Lu Sun rather like a treasure someone had left lying in the street. It would be a fine thing if I could bind her. System, how long until I can bind a third person? The idea had occurred to him. With Murong Wan and Chu Youqing bound, his cultivation looked after itself. Binding Bai Ling would give him rapid growth along an entirely different axis. And the best of it, he couldn't cultivate, but nothing stopped him refining pills, drawing talismans, or laying formations. Improve at alchemy and money stops being a question. The same goes for talismanry. The 4th grade talismans Fei Tai A had given him were worth hundreds of millions apiece, which converts to 100,000 units of dark energy at the low end. Formation masters have a harder time turning a profit, though not a bad one. Cultivators who come into money generally want stronger formations around their households, which keeps formation masters in work. Broadly, alchemists are the wealthiest, then talisman masters, then formation masters. If he could bind Bai Ling, and use the system to repair her spirit veins, the returns would come from her indefinitely. With all 3 trades in hand he could keep Murong Wan and Chu Youqing supplied with cultivation resources once they'd grown, and their speed of cultivation directly determined his own. Once the host's strength reaches the 3rd realm, a third person may be bound. The 3rd realm, then. The method was the same as before. Either the deep connection, as with Murong Wan, or, as with Chu Youqing, a kiss once favor reached 100%. There were unstated conditions attached. For the first route, Lu Sun had to be the woman's first man. If another had been there before him, no binding was possible. System, where does Bai Ling's favor stand? 16%. Not low, and not high. Most of it presumably dated from his refusing the Jia group's offer, beyond that the two of them had hardly interacted, and there was no reason for her to feel much of anything. Raise it before I break the 3rd realm, then, and find a way to bind her after. Lu Sun began to plan. He wasn't a womanizer, he wanted the binding, and there were only the 2 routes. The first was out of the question, he could hardly force her. So it would have to be the second. Bai Ling, what exactly happened to your spirit veins? Having decided, Lu Sun began paying attention to her. It's like this, boss. I had a pill vein, and it was perfectly sound. 2 years ago it simply stopped working, for no reason I could see, and my whole spirit wheel was blocked as a result. That's how I ended up like this. Your pill vein was damaged. Things don't break for no reason. Lu Sun's instinct said there was a story behind it. I don't know either. Perhaps I refined too much. With pills as good as yours, is there really no remedy? It's the heaven and earth extraordinary vein that's the trouble. Nothing short of origin energy will resolve it, and where would I come by origin energy? Bai Ling sighed. The girl was relentlessly cheerful as a rule, she rarely sighed at all. If I bind her, the system should be able to solve it. That settled something for him. Every new binding produced a gift package, and those packages had so far always contained precisely what the bound person needed, Murong Wan's innate energy, the innate spirit energy for Chu Youqing. It ought to be able to supply Bai Ling's origin energy too. I've nothing on today. I'll stay and help, and I can learn something about refining while I'm at it. Thank you, boss. You're very kind. He didn't leave. And every day after, he made time to come and help her. The helping was secondary. 3 days of it took Bai Ling's favor past 20%. Through those 3 days, Fei Tai kept his watch, from a cloud above Qinbei Street, drinking. No killer came near Lu Sun. Fei Tai was thoroughly patient about it, he had no ambitions to speak of and spent his days drinking regardless, and one place was as good as another for that. 3rd Mississippi. The owner of the Star and Moon building won't break the lease. I'm afraid we'll need another approach. Even at double the terms she isn't tempted. No, 3rd Mississippi. The owner's position is unusual. I don't believe we can move her. Oh. Who is she? Fu Shui. Fu Shui, her. Then no, we can't. On the 3rd floor of Jia's shop, the 3rd young lady frowned. Manager Li had spent days working his connections to establish who actually owned the building. The 3rd young lady had intended to pay enough that the owner would break the lease herself and put both Lu Sun and Bai Ling out on the street. The owner had proved too formidable to approach, and that route was closed. A trade war, then. She reached her decision a few minutes later. Bring in stock from the other shops and sell everything at half price. At the same time, buy up the raw materials at whatever they cost. I want to see how long she lasts. Bai Ling would learn what she was dealing with. 3rd Miss, for one small spirit pill pavilion, surely. Be quiet. You don't question the young lady's decisions. Yes. My apologies. Manager Li had meant to argue, and was cut off by one of the maids. He sighed privately. To his mind, the handful of pills the spirit pill pavilion sold each day posed no threat whatever to Jia's. Never mind the Jia group entire, even Jia's shop on Qinbei Street was a leviathan beside it. An elephant and an ant. The spirit pill pavilion's real weakness was volume. However good the pills were, most students couldn't get one, and had to buy Jia's regardless. There was no need at all for the 3rd young lady to make a contest of it. Jia's is selling at half price. Go now. The news went through both universities the following day. Jia's shop on Qinbei Street had put everything on its shelves at half price. It caused something close to panic. Jia's pills were well regarded, the only complaint anyone had was the cost. At half price they were a gift from heaven, and anyone who didn't move now would regret it. Before long Qinbei Street was packed with students, and those who arrived late couldn't get in at all. Why has everyone gone across the road? Half price. Our pills work better and it doesn't matter, nobody can resist half price. Inside the Spirit Pill Pavilion, several assistants stood watching the street. The place had been thronged for weeks. Today it was deserted. Every one of them had gone to the other side. Half price is a powerful thing, and very few students could ignore it. The dark energy a student has for buying pills is limited, children of wealthy houses are a small minority. Most have to count it carefully, and often save several months' allowance before they can afford a single pill. By the end of the day, more than half of what Bai Ling had refined was still sitting on the shelf. Considerable progress this month. Cultivation is the foundation in the end, and Lu Sun isn't only strong in a fight. His cultivation has come along markedly too. The quarterly assessment had come round at Beida University. This time Lu Sun showed a little more of himself, raising his Immortal Road reading by 2 stages, which set off the usual round of argument. Jia's is selling at half price. Lu Sun raised an eyebrow at Li Bufan. That's right, brother Sun. Li Bufan rubbed his hands, thoroughly pleased with himself. Jia's has never gone to half price. An opportunity like that doesn't come twice. He'd come straight from the assessment to pass the news along. Jia's shop on Qingbei Street was selling everything at half price, and the news had gone through both universities like a fire. A great many students had finished their assessments and immediately gone to buy. Half price. So you mean to squeeze Bai Ling out? Lu Sun rubbed his chin, thinking. He'd had the assessment today and hadn't been to Qingbei Street yet. What a crowd. Arriving, he found the street so densely packed there was no room to put a needle. Qingbei Street was rarely like this, which said everything about the pull of half-price Jias. So much left. Squeezing at last into the spirit pill pavilion, he found half the day's pills still on the shelves. That would have been impossible before. Whatever Bai Ling produced generally sold the moment it came out of the furnace. He took stock of it and went up to the third floor. Bai Ling was concentrating on the pill fire. Hearing footsteps, she looked up and smiled faintly. Boss. Her mood didn't seem to have suffered yet. Bai Ling. Are you all right? I'm fine. She wiped the sweat from her forehead and said it evenly. Then you know Jia's has gone to half price. She nodded, and something sharper crossed her eyes. I do. They mean to cut off my trade. And it isn't only the half price, the raw materials for refining have gone up several times over. That will be them as well. Has the Jia group lost its mind? How much are they burning to strangle one small shop? Lu Sun's curiosity about the feud deepened again. What kind of grievance produces this? So what will you do? It's all right, boss. So long as I can keep income and outgoings level, I can keep refining. And as long as I keep refining, my pill vein may still recover. She wasn't especially worried, and stayed as relentlessly optimistic as ever, which is a thing most people can't learn. A few more questions, and Lu Sun began to understand what she was actually doing here. She hadn't come to Qingbei Street simply to compete with Jia's. It was for the pill vein. Bai Ling believed that if she went on refining, there was some chance of it recovering. Alchemy devours money, and the margins are enormous, which is why she'd only offered up 30% at the outset. She didn't need a great deal of money. She needed to break even, and to be able to keep working. And Jia's maneuver was aimed squarely at that. Strike a snake where it can't bear to be struck. If this continued, Bai Ling's pills wouldn't sell. If they didn't sell, her capital wouldn't come back, and with raw materials rising, she wouldn't be able to keep refining at all. No sales, no money, no money, no materials, no pills. Having understood it, Lu Sun considered a moment. Bai Ling. Let's suspend the split for now. Keep everything yourself, and we'll settle it later. Her hands stopped. When she looked up, her eyes were faintly red. Boss, you're very good to me. I'll make it up to you. She didn't refuse. She genuinely needed it. Even so, the position didn't improve. The Jia group was plainly determined, and Jia stayed at half price through the following days, shipping in stock from their other shops in quantity enough to satisfy every student at both universities. The spirit pill pavilion stayed empty. On a good day Bai Ling sold a quarter of what she refined. Heaven-tier pills are genuinely superior, and they're also dearer, and the number of cultivators who can afford them is limited. One of her chief reasons for choosing Qingbei Street had been that the students here had the strongest purchasing power, which was what let her keep refining. With Jia's at half price, a slightly slower rate of cultivation stopped mattering to most of them. A great many students can't count on having pills at all. And the underlying problem was that Bai Ling could refine nothing above second-grade heaven tier. Third grade or better and the situation would have been entirely different. With sales collapsed and stock piling up, her money dwindled. Before long she wouldn't be able to buy materials at all. Bai Ling, don't panic. Doing this costs them money. They can't keep it up forever. Looking at how thin her face had grown, Lu Sun said it gently. The Jia group's method was simple enough. On one side they bought raw materials at inflated prices, so the merchants wouldn't sell cheaply and Bai Ling had to pay whatever was asked. On the other they sold pills below cost and took her customers. However fat the margins on elixirs, they certainly weren't profiting by this. They were very likely losing. And I don't believe the Jia group will keep losing indefinitely. No, boss. I can't stop. My pill vein still has a chance. If I stop refining for any length of time, it never recovers. Bai Ling shook her head. Besides, she won't stop until she's driven me out. And I won't give her the satisfaction. Stubbornness flashed in her eyes. Lu Sun was now all but certain, this was somebody's grudge, entire. Bai Ling. At what materials cost now, can you still profit from refining? At the original price, certainly. I've been thinking about discounting. Good. Then forget the Jia group and keep refining. It doesn't matter if it doesn't sell, I'll cover the costs. Boss, I couldn't possibly. I'm not spending it for nothing. The pills are mine, in that case. I'm getting the better of the arrangement. Thank you, boss. Her eyes filled. The position had been genuinely desperate. Nothing she made was selling, none of her capital was coming back, and savings or not, she couldn't have lasted long. Lu Sun's backing arrived exactly when it was needed. But the materials are so expensive now. That's an enormous burden on you. It's fine. I've plenty. You may not have heard, I won a cubic meter of dark energy recently. You, boss, that's extraordinary. Hearing it, something rekindled in Bai Ling, and her sense of him shifted. Until now, Lu Sun had been a pleasant young landlord. She was beginning to suspect he was rather more than that, his willingness to step in had paid handsomely. Moved by it, Bai Ling's favor toward him had climbed to half. In the small training room attached to his dormitory, Lu Sun spoke the incantation, and his presence began to climb. Boom. He struck the energy tester once. Doubled. Nothing else about the strike had changed. The force behind it had doubled outright, all of it Barbara's spell. There. You've finally learned it. Barbara sat off to one side with a small red flower perched on her head, looking rather pleased with herself. If I want to stack the effect, do I simply keep casting? It works like this, each layer costs twice what the last did. My blood is precious, so 3 layers is your limit. Don't overdo it, or your mind won't take the strain. Casting does place a burden on the mind. Lu Sun was using Barbara's blood, which took most of the weight off, but under repeated casting the pressure would build sharply. Here, a very good meditation method. Practice it when you've nothing else to do and it will strengthen your mind. At some point she'd carved a meditation method into the floor. Meditation is a required subject for mages. 2 measures matter most to them, mental strength, and magic. A mage's training through the early realms is a continuous business of building the first and accumulating the second. Which suggested that magic on Barbara's home world was very highly developed indeed. Having finished the carving, Barbara's waking time ran out. Her consciousness sank away, and she became Xiao Bai again, who liked nothing better than curling up in Lu Sun's arms. Lu Sun took out his phone and photographed the carving. She writes our script as well. He found the meditation method set down in the local written language. Not that it surprised him greatly, she spoke it fluently enough. Barbara was plainly formidable in her own right and quick-minded besides, so picking up another language would hardly trouble her. How long has she been on Blue Star? And how did she come from the west to the east? The story behind it would have to wait. The next day Lu Sun went to Qingbei Street again. The street was still crowded and Jia's promotion was still running. Fewer and fewer people came to the Spirit Pill Pavilion. Fortunately, with Lu Sun's backing, Bai Ling could refine a certain quantity every day and keep her pill vein from falling entirely idle. Lu Sun had his own concern there, if the vein were ruined outright, the system's binding reward might be useless when it came. "Boss, these are yesterday's." Seeing him, Bai Ling handed over everything she'd refined the previous day. Everything she did now was aimed at preserving and restoring the vein rather than at money. "Bai Ling. From now on, put the newly refined ones out on the shelves, take yesterday's back, and give those to me." "Why, boss?" "To annoy the people across the road." Her eyes lit up. Lu Sun didn't leave, and stayed to help her, which she noticed. Her favor toward him climbed a little every day. Half a month, and she's still standing. Managerly, is someone quietly selling her materials cheaply? A week later, in Jia's shop. "Third miss, certainly not. I've contacted every raw material supplier in the capital. None of them is going to leave money on the table to undercut for the Spirit Pill Pavilion's benefit." "Could she have found another outlet for her stock?" one of the maids asked. "Unlikely. The best she can produce is second-grade heaven tier. We can supply the great houses with third-grade and above. Nobody offends the Jia group over one small pill shop." Manager Li was confident about it. However fine Bai Ling's pills, she remained a second-grade alchemist, and that was her weakness. There were wealthy families enough in the capital, and not one of them would cross the Jia group over a second-grade elixir, heaven tier or not. The Jia group had alchemists capable of heaven tier work themselves, their success rate simply wasn't high. They couldn't produce it the way Bai Ling did, at very nearly 100%. His answer settled the third young lady's worries. "Manager Li, continue the half-price sale." "Yes, third Mississippi." Manager Li let it go. She was determined to have her contest, there was no profit in making her unhappy about it. The Jia group was large and the margins on elixirs were genuinely enormous. Steep as the discounts were, and high as they'd driven materials, they could carry the losses. Time passed. 2 more weeks, and Jia's half-price sale had run a full month. It had been a very good month for students at both universities. A great many had bought at half price and laid in substantial stockpiles, Lin Yan among them, who'd extracted a large sum of dark energy from his family and hoarded accordingly. Opportunities like this don't come often. The third young lady made no attempt to stop the stockpiling. She was pleased by it. The students' purchasing power was being spent well in advance, and once it was gone, none of them would have money left for Bai Ling's pills. How is she still standing? A month on, the Spirit Pill Pavilion opened as usual. Not only open, its stock was refreshed daily, with new pills on display every morning. It baffled her. Others might not know Bai Ling, she did. Bai Ling held very little dark energy. If her pills didn't sell, she'd have been unable to afford materials almost immediately. By the third young lady's reckoning, Bai Ling could not have lasted a month. And yet she had. And she hadn't merely idled through it, the stock changed every single day. Something's wrong. "Miss, could the wild girl have found a backer? With a broken pill vein, where would she find one? Besides, this is a Jia family matter. Outsiders keep clear of it." The two maids speculated as though they were family themselves. Could it be him? A face surfaced in the third young lady's mind. Lu Sun. Manager Li had investigated him a few days earlier, and the results had surprised her. Lu Sun's parents had died early and he'd been through some severe upheaval in his youth. He'd nonetheless performed brilliantly in the examinations and won a place at Beta University. Once there his progress had been extraordinary, a second heaven and earth extraordinary vein that caused a sensation across both universities, cultivation climbing in leaps, first place on the rookie board and a wide lead at every assessment since. Last month he'd killed a third realm assassin, and beaten the third realm genius He Chong in the ring on his own strength alone. Lu Sun was, in short, thoroughly dazzling. More to the point, the third young lady had learned that he'd taken a cubic meter of dark energy off He Chong. And with his cultivation and his record, what Beta University granted him each month would hardly be small. If Lu Xun chose to support Bai Ling, he could keep her going a very long time. It's him. It must be. Having thought it through, she could no longer sit still. Good afternoon, Mr. Lu. A clear voice. On Qingbei Street, a woman in a tailored suit had stepped into his path. Her makeup was precise, her chestnut hair fell in a slight curl to her shoulders, and the jeweled bracelet at her wrist threw off small points of light in the sun. And you are? Jia Yue. The Jia Group. Her lips parted on a smile of perfectly measured professionalism, her eyes lifting slightly. Might we talk? Jia Yue. I'm sorry. I don't think we have much to discuss. Lu Xun's tone went cold. A Jia by name, and from her bearing and presence, plainly Jia by family, very likely somewhere near its center. The trade war between Jia's shop and the Spirit Pill Pavilion was probably being run by this woman. Their positions were opposed. What was there to talk about? Mr. Lu, there's a cubic meter of dark energy on this card. Agree to one thing and it's yours. She caught up with him and held it out. A cubic meter. I'd been told the Jia Group was wealthy. Is that really the best you can manage? The sarcasm actually came as a relief to Jia Yue. If he was willing to speak at all, that was something. The figure is negotiable. If Mr. Lu finds it insufficient, name your own. 100 cubic meters. Give me 100 cubic meters of dark energy and the star and moon building is yours. Jia Yue's smile froze. 100 cubic meters. 100 million units of dark energy. Reckoned in money, that ran to figures that had no business being attached to a building with 3 years left on its lease. She was intelligent enough to know an impossible price when she heard one, and sure enough, there was amusement at the corner of Lu Xun's mouth. Student Lu. There's a great deal tangled up in this matter. I'd advise you not to involve yourself. Jia Yue dropped the acquisition, and a warning came into her voice. I'm afraid I don't take your advice. A hero has an eye for a beautiful woman, I understand why Mr. Lu supports her. But consider it carefully. Continue and you set yourself against the Jia Group. Is that a threat? Lu Xun stopped and looked at her, and there was nothing friendly in it. He could feel that Jia Yue was strong, stronger than he was. The Jia Group was another Leviathan. And so what? Lu Xun hadn't been raised to frighten easily. Not a threat. Simply a fact. And? He raised an eyebrow. Since Blue Star set foot on the ancient Star Road, countless geniuses have appeared, and only a handful ever reached the sixth realm. Mr. Lu's road is smooth at present. Who can say what it looks like later? Your point. He was losing patience. How does Mr. Lu propose to guarantee he never meets a bottleneck? And Bai Ling can refine nothing above second grade. When you want the third realm, Jia's elixirs are your best option. There it was, cross the Jia Group and he'd be blacklisted, and never buy from them again. Would I, though? Jia's elixirs were famous across the east. Lu Xun genuinely didn't need them. Even if Chu Youqing and Murong Wan wanted elixirs, it changed little, the quarrel was Lu Xun's, not theirs. And they had Bai Ling now, whose work was better. Certainly, Jia Yue said, entirely confident in her family's pills. I think you're right. He agreed, which was unlike him. Before she could take any pleasure in it, he continued, but I'm stubborn. Once I've decided a thing, I don't turn back, not if I'm wrong, and not if I walk into a wall. Jia Yue paused. The meeting had achieved nothing. Thank you, boss. When Lu Xun next came to the Spirit Pill Pavilion, Bai Ling thanked him the moment she saw him. For what? I simply wanted to. She seemed thoroughly pleased. Which suggested she'd heard about Jia Yue's approach, otherwise why had her favor risen these past 2 days? Lu Xun intended to bring Bai Ling's favor to 100%, so that the moment he broke the third realm he could bind her whenever he chose. His cultivation was still climbing. Murong Wan had broken the 5th stage of the Qi Si about 20 days ago and had since gone straight through to the 6th. Chu Youqing was a little slower, though not by much. Lu Xun wanted to know what lay between Bai Ling and the Jia group, and what the grudge actually was. Bai Ling plainly didn't want to discuss it, so he didn't press. Her background had to be extraordinary. Why else would a group of that size keep grinding away at one small pill shop? Is the woman really that vicious? The next day, word came from Luo Dasheng. A commission had appeared on the dark web, against Bai Ling. The price was substantial, 100,000 units of dark energy. Once the trade war began, Lu Xun had asked Luo Dasheng to keep an eye on the dark web for him. He'd been worried the Jia group would resort to something uglier. And here it was. Having found no opening with Lu Xun, Jia Yue had evidently decided to remove Bai Ling physically. Through a dark web killer she could have it done with nothing traceable back to her. Lu Xun suspected that if there weren't already 2 commissions against him on the dark web, they'd have added a third rather than leave him alone. Why only 100,000, though? The figure puzzled him. It seemed thin. For Lu Xun himself, Jia Yue had been ready to hand over a cubic meter of dark energy, a full 1,000,000 units. And the commission on Bai Ling came to 1/10 of that. Does she think 100,000 buys enough killer to deal with Bai Ling? The word vicious had attached itself firmly to Jia Yue in his mind. He couldn't think of anyone besides her and the Jia group who'd want Bai Ling dead, and if it wasn't her personally, it was someone of hers, which came to the same thing. Having thought it over, Lu Xun picked up Xiao Bai and went out. He was going to Qingbei Street to give Bai Ling something to keep her alive with. Boss, you're saying someone wants me killed? Be careful for a while. Take these 2 talismans, and use them the moment you're in danger. On the 3rd floor of the Star and Moon building, Lu Xun handed over the Golden Bell talisman and the Thunder and Fire talisman he'd taken from the 3rd realm assassin, one to defend, one to strike, and between them enough to answer a threat from the 4th realm. More than enough for Bai Ling. These are 4th-grade spirit talismans. Boss, they're far too precious, I can't. Nothing's more precious than your life. He pressed both into her hands. Thank you, boss. You're so good to me. Her eyes filled. Lu Xun saw her favor had gone past 80%. He stayed to help her a while after that, then left. Between the formation Bai Ling had laid over the Star and Moon building and the talismans he'd just given her, even a 4th realm killer would find her difficult. And at 100,000 units, a 4th realm cultivator was unlikely to take the work at all. Lu Xun. Chu Youqing was already waiting when he came out of the school gates the next day. The sunlight caught the ends of her hair. Seeing him, she came bounding over and took his arm without preamble. It was the weekend. She'd messaged the night before to say she wanted to go out. She'd been buried in training for weeks and hadn't seen him in some time. Qingbei Street was still crowded with people chasing Jia's discounts, so the 2 of them avoided it and went round the capital's larger shopping districts instead. They shopped until the afternoon and came away with a great deal. Auntie. That evening, outside an expensive restaurant, Chu Youqing waved delightedly. Murong Wan had just got out of a car, and froze at the sight of Lu Xun. It was the weekend, and Chu Youqing had specifically asked her to come. She'd assumed it would be the 2 of them. Lu Xun was rather at a loss himself. I'd genuinely like to open my girlfriend's head and see what's in there. Auntie, you've come on so fast I can't keep up. Lu Xun, what are you thinking about? Isn't the food to your taste? Inside, Chu Youqing's voice kept up more or less continuously. Neither Lu Xun nor Murong Wan said much, which left her doing the talking for all 3. Any student from Qingshu College would have been startled by it. This was the aloof campus beauty. Chu Youqing, once the great beauty of Rongqing No. 1 Middle School, had since been voted the same by Qingshu College's first years. It isn't that Qingshu lacks beautiful women, the previous years were simply rarely seen, and first years do most of the talking on the campus network. And Chu Youqing seemed entirely oblivious to the delicacy of the meal she'd arranged. The situation between Lu Sun and Murong Wan was too particular. Had there only been the first occasion, it would have been manageable. Enough time had passed, Murong Wan had no intention of anything further, and she'd settled her mind about it long ago. Then Murong Yan's scheming had produced a second. And now the two of them were sitting at one table with Chu Youqing, which was bound to be awkward. Chu Youqing was Lu Sun's girlfriend. Murong Wan was her aunt. The lines ran in too many directions at once. Moon Clan singers. On the stage at the center of the restaurant, several singers whose skin carried a faint moonlit glow had begun to perform. Chu Youqing's attention went to them instantly, her eyes bright. Their singing ran clear as spring water, and quieted the whole room. The Moon Clan are another of the outside races. Unlike the Shadow Clan, they're a gentle and friendly people. Their own world came apart and was destroyed at a node on the ancient Star Road. Countless Moon Clan died, and only a small number survived to make their way along it. They proved friendly enough to Blue Star, and offered help that spared it certain dangers, which earned them leave to remain. A good many outside races now live on Blue Star for one reason or another. Some of them, being not greatly different from humans, have begun to integrate into it altogether. They tend to keep to fixed districts, and ordinary people have little to do with them. The Moon Clan finished their song, and Chu Youqing, evidently finding the mood flat, livened up again. Lu Sun, you and my aunt are at the same school. You should talk more. Your cultivation's coming on so fast, you could look after her a bit. Her eyes curved as she said it, and she didn't notice her aunt's fingers tighten under the table. All right. Lu Sun answered briefly, then served Chu Youqing a piece of roast goose. Youqing, this is good. Try it. Auntie, you should try it too. And served Murong Wan a piece as well. The gesture visibly startled her, and her fingers closed on the stem of her glass. The way he addressed her sent heat into her ears. Auntie. Let me pour for you. He picked up the bottle, perfectly composed. Murong Wan had little choice but to raise her glass. As she drank, her lashes lowered, throwing a faint shadow across her cheek. Auntie, this is a Moon Clan vegetable, try it. Auntie, let me top that up. Auntie, have some more rice. The anti-offensive continued without pause. He served her food, poured her wine, filled her tea, short of putting it in her mouth himself, he did everything. Murong Wan's color rose visibly, and faint pink crept down her neck. Chu Youqing said less and less. He always served her first, and Murong Wan second. And he was being so attentive to Murong Wan that Chu Youqing couldn't help feeling something turn over, sour, somewhere behind her ribs. Lu Sun, that's enough. I've had plenty, Murong Wan said at last, unable to take any more. I'm full as well. Chu Youqing set down her chopsticks, her voice lower than usual. Only then did Lu Sun set his own down. Looking at his rather deflated girlfriend, Lu Sun concluded that she was a normal person after all. She's capable of jealousy, at least. Lu Sun, auntie, this was lovely. Shall we do it every month from now on? Chu Youqing produced the suggestion just as he was thinking it. Lu Sun. He quietly withdrew the conclusion. A couple came into the restaurant hand in hand, and the woman drew a good many eyes from the tables as she passed. Lu Mei. Lu Sun looked up and found somebody he knew. According to Li Bufan, Lu Mei had thrown Lin Yan over the moment she reached the capital, which was the whole reason Lin Yan bore a grudge against Li Bufan, and why the two of them still came to blows periodically. So this would be the man she'd taken up with instead. Lu Sun spared him a couple of glances and looked away. He no longer cared about Lu Mei at all. Seeing her moved nothing in him whatsoever. Lu Sun. She'd seen him too. Her pupils contracted, and then her mouth curved into a deliberate smile. She pointed at a table beside his. Brother Chang, let's sit there. Wherever you like. The man addressed as Brother Chang did as he was told, and the two of them sat down alongside. Lu Mei's eyes went across Lu Sun's profile, her mouth took on a provoking angle, and she raised her voice deliberately. Brother Chang, you're extraordinary. Breaking the third realm so quickly. It's only the third realm, wife. Give me a few years and I'll have the fourth. Brother Chang expanded visibly, thoroughly pleased with himself and delighted to be showing it off somewhere this expensive. Heads turned at the neighboring tables. The third realm is nothing to sniff at even in a capital thick with masters, not everyone is a genius. Wanlu Academy really is remarkable. Those so-called geniuses at the two universities are mostly from poor families, they can't even afford decent elixirs. Not like you, Brother Chang, you eat earth-tier and heaven-tier pills like meals. Getting no reaction from Lu Sun, Lu Mei pitched it higher still. Wanlu Academy. Anyone who gets into Wanlu is rich or titled. It's the nobility's academy. They say even wealthy families from smaller places don't qualify. No wonder he's strong. If she's at Wanlu, her background must be considerable. The murmuring around them gratified Lu Mei enormously. Wanlu Academy's threshold is higher than the two universities, though differently. The universities are comparatively fair, be a genius and you're in, whatever your family. Wanlu isn't. Genius alone won't do it, you need wealth as well, and a great deal of it, with at least one grandmaster in the family. Someone like Lin Yen wouldn't qualify. Geniuses of Chu Youqing's or Murong Wan's caliber face no such restriction, provided they're women. Lu Mei had got in on this Brother Chang's arm, and she was very proud of it. She'd wanted more than once to run into Lu Sun near the universities and let him see. Having finally managed it, she wasn't about to waste the chance. She had, however, miscalculated. Lu Sun was entirely unaffected. Chu Youqing and Murong Wan glanced at her once and looked away. Chu Youqing didn't even recognize her. Brother Chang, you opened your extraordinary veins and broke through so fast. Shouldn't we celebrate? She caught his arm and shook it, her voice going sweet enough to set teeth on edge. The coquetry was manufactured, the point was announcing the extraordinary veins. Of course we should. Brother Chang stood, clapped his hands and called out across the room. Everyone, eat and drink as you please. It's on me tonight. Generous man. As you'd expect of Wanluo's young master. Praise went round the restaurant. Posture all you like. Lu Mei sneered inwardly, because Lu Sun still hadn't reacted. She assumed he was pretending, that he must be sitting there full of regret. You wouldn't dance attendance on me then. Now look where I've reached and where you are. Waiter. The bill. Lu Sun raised a hand. Lu Mei was becoming noisy, and they'd finished eating, there was no reason to stay. Sir, everything tonight is on Mr. Lin Chang's account. There's nothing to pay. The waiter inclined slightly. That she knew his name suggested Lin Chang came here often. That's right, friend. I'm in a good mood. Go on, don't trouble yourself about it. Lin Chang waved him off with a condescending smile. Well, isn't that Lu Sun? Lu Mei wasn't prepared to let him simply leave. Lu Sun had wounded her and humiliated her more than once, she wasn't going to let it pass unsettled. Wife, you know him. Brother Chang, that's him. He used to bully me constantly back in Rongcheng. The things I suffered, the way people laughed at me. She was in tears within a sentence, laying out Lu Sun's crimes with her eyes brimming. You. Lu Mei. Chu Youqing finally placed her. How can you say that? Lu Sun brought you food for 3 years and you call it bullying. Who asked him to? He wanted me, and when he found he couldn't have me he turned nasty. Brother Chang, are you going to stand there and let him treat me like this? Lu Mei pushed hard, plainly afraid of what else Chu Youqing might say. You dare bully my wife? On your knees, boy. Lin Chang's temper went at once. Spiritual power surged through him and he pressed down with his right hand, meaning to force Lu Sun to his knees under the pressure of a third-realm immortal cultivator. Lu Sun made a short, cold sound, and his Qi Si and Spirit Palace boiled over together. A warrior's pressure and an immortal cultivator's pressure rose off him at the same instant, and struck Lin Chang's head on. Lin Chang, freshly into the third realm, felt everything in him lurch, and brought up a mouthful of blood. Lu Mei's hands went over her mouth. How? A third realm master from Wanlu, coughing blood. Who is that? The restaurant went silent, every eye wide. You're asking to die. Furious, Lin Chang refused to read the collapse of his own pressure as evidence that he was outmatched. Thunder and fire art. His hands came together for a second attempt. Lu Sun was faster. He crossed the distance in a blink and struck. Fire and lightning cracked against each other, and Lin Chang went backward through a table, which came apart under him. However sharp an immortal cultivator's attacks, closing to arm's length with a martial cultivator of comparable strength is suicide. And though Lu Sun still stood at the second realm, his strength was well past an ordinary third. Lin Chang brought up more blood. Lu Mei stood frozen. Lu Sun, I know him. The Lu Sun from Beidou University who cultivates both roads. Lu Sun. Haven't you heard? Last month he killed a third-realm assassin at second-realm cultivation, and beat a third-realm genius in the ring. His combat power doesn't make sense. Does a talent like that actually exist? And he's a first year. Someone in the restaurant who'd heard of him finally connected the name, and the story went round the room to a chorus of amazement. Set beside Lu Sun, Lin Chang, Wanliu's genius, was nothing at all. Lu Sun was a first year. Lin Chang was visibly several years further along. Impossible. How can he be that strong? The smugness had gone out of Lu Mei's face entirely. She'd spent these weeks occupied with Lin Chang and had paid little attention to what went on at the two universities. She'd had no idea Lu Sun had made a name at Beidou at all. She didn't want to believe it. The evidence was standing in front of her. A slap cracked across the room. You dare hit me. Lu Mei's hand went to her face. A second slap knocked her sideways, and left her cheek swollen scarlet. That one silenced her. She stayed where she was, covering her face, watching Lu Sun in real fear. I warned you last time. If there's a next. He didn't finish it. His eyes were cold, and what he left unsaid did the work. We're going. Lu Sun took the two women out of the restaurant, and the farce Lu Mei had started ended there. Brother Chang. Lu Mei covered her swollen face and dissolved into tears. Lu Sun, I'll kill you. Lin Chang hauled himself up, furious, produced a talisman and came after them. Mro. As the three of them stepped outside, Xiao Bai cried out in his arms. Careful. Lu Sun's eyelid twitched, and he crushed a golden bell talisman without hesitating. Fei Tai A hadn't given him one but three. Having passed one to Bai Ling, he still had two. Gold light bloomed, and an enormous bell of flowing runes closed over all three of them. Lin Chang, mid-charge, ran straight into it, was thrown off, and collided with Lu Mei. Both of them went down hard and stayed down. At almost the same instant, a blade of light came down across the golden bell and scattered the runes along its surface. The bell shuddered violently, and fine cracks opened across it. Fourth realm. Lu Sun's expression hardened. Whoever had struck was a fourth realm master. Fortunately, he'd had the talisman. A figure appeared outside it, close-fitting clothes, face covered, and came on like a tide, the sword in his hand, a bar of cold light hammering at the failing bell. A 4th grade Golden Bell talisman will hold a 4th realm power off for a time. How long depends on the talisman's own quality and on the strength of the man attacking it. Generally something above a minute. This one plainly wanted the thing finished fast, and his attacks were ferocious. The runes across the great bell were vanishing at speed. It wouldn't last the minute. Lu Xun held the 2nd Golden Bell talisman ready. "Teacher. Don't be asleep up there." He glanced skyward. Since Lu Xun had killed the 3rd realm assassin, no new killer had come. A 3rd realm cultivator wouldn't lightly try it now. And with the He family's bounty at 4 million units, whoever came next would be 4th realm or better. A thief can steal for 1,000 days, you can't guard against thieves for 1,000 days. Which was why Lu Xun had gone out shopping with Chu Youqing today at all, to draw the snake out of its hole. Frighten these people badly enough and they'd stop trying. And sure enough, it had drawn a 4th realm master. "Lu Xun, the talisman's failing. I have another." Murong Wan produced one from inside her coat, presumably the card Murong Wan had given her. "Wait a moment," Lu Xun said, low. The 4th realm master hammered at the bell, trying to break it before anything could arrive. "It's going." And as the bell was about to give, a brilliant sword light came down out of the sky like a falling star. Blood sprayed. The killer twisted aside in time and lost his arm anyway. He made a short sound, crushed a talisman without a moment's thought, and went out of the city as a streak of light. "Running, are you?" Fei Taiye flickered and was gone after him. He returned before long. "Teacher. How did it go?" Lu Xun collected the spent Golden Bell talisman. A 5th grade escape talisman. "I couldn't catch him." Fei Taiye sighed. "These past years. I've wasted a great deal of time." 5th realm grandmaster or not, with his heart for the Tao broken, his cultivation had gone backward rather than forward, and his combat power with it. He picked the severed arm up off the ground, examined it, and said, "With this, the Martial Bureau should be able to identify him." A 5th grade escape talisman. Another item for getting away, the man had been carrying a great many cards. The Martial Bureau arrived shortly after. The attack had lasted well under a minute and had still done considerable damage to the surrounding area. Every blow had landed on the Great Bell, and the backwash of true energy had blown out the glass in a good many nearby buildings. Had they not been warded by formations, some of them might well have come down. There weren't many injured. The worst of them were Lin Chang and Lu Mei, neither of whom had woken. "Youqing. Don't leave the school for a while. Concentrate on your training." An hour later, Lu Xun delivered Chu Youqing to the gates of Qingshu College, then took Murong Wan back to Beida University. She said very little on the way. As they were about to part, he pressed several bottles of Bai Ling's elixirs into her hands. "Miss Murong. Consider it borrowed." He wasn't going to accept a refusal. Once, Murong Wan would very likely have refused anyway. Since the second occasion her feelings toward him had grown complicated, and watching a 4th realm grandmaster try to kill him today had impressed on her exactly how much cultivation mattered. She pressed her lips together and took them without a word. "Lu Xun, we've identified him. A 4th realm grandmaster named Zhao Jia, the Martial Bureau has issued a warrant. The man dared to attack my student. Don't worry, he won't get clear." Fei Taiye found him the next day and handed over several more talismans. 2 assassination attempts in succession had told Fei Taiye something, though he asked no questions. Lu Xun thought it over and decided against telling him about the dark web bounty. The He family had chosen the dark web precisely because it left no evidence. He'd settle that himself, in time. "Boss. Perhaps I should leave." The next day, in the Spirit Pill Pavilion, Bai Ling twisted her fingers together, her eyes faintly red. "What's brought this on? Surely she isn't giving up of her own accord. I heard you were attacked again." "It's my fault." She'd concluded that she was the reason people were trying to kill him. Bai Ling, this has nothing to do with you. Concentrate on your refining. Lu Sun laughed it off. Jia's promotion was still running. Jia Yue hadn't approached him again. Judging by the bounty on Bai Ling, she, or the Jia group, had laid two plans: keep the pressure on commercially, and hope a killer removed her. But Bai Ling rarely left the Spirit Pill Pavilion, and Jia's own promotion had made Qingbei Street busier than ever, which left an assassin very little opening. Until the day Bai Ling ran out of materials and went out to buy more herself. A killer came in quietly behind her and struck. And a sword light arrived from the side and drove him off. I've been waiting for you. The light had come from Lu Sun. His sword ran with sword energy, and the shapelessness of the formless sword of 10,000 tribulations made it impossible for an ordinary eye to follow. Stars in motion. The killer had an art of his own for turning damage aside. Turn as much as you like. Lu Sun's sword energy came down like a storm and swallowed him whole. It didn't take long. The killer went down in a spreading pool of blood. Lu Sun turned the blade in a flourish and sheathed it. Boss. Bai Ling stared at him, startled, and moved in roughly equal measure. Bai Ling. I'll come with you. Having dealt with the killer, Lu Sun went along with her to buy alchemical materials. Where a new problem promptly appeared. I'm sorry. Everything we have is reserved. You'll have to try elsewhere. The two of them spent the entire afternoon going from shop to shop and came away with nothing. Every stock of alchemical material in the district had been spoken for. The Jia group. It's her, Bai Ling said, angry and helpless in equal measure. Alchemical materials aren't easily come by. You either buy them or go outside the city and gather them yourself, and the world is wide, so nobody finds what they need quickly. A great many spirit herbs are cultivated deliberately by one power or another and barely exist in the wild at all. Bai Ling sat down on the riverbank with her arms round her knees, staring at the water. Lu Sun sat down beside her. The Jia group's latest move was a cut at the root. It closed off her ability to refine at all. Bai Ling. Why is the Jia group so set on you? He finally asked the question he'd been carrying. She's afraid I'll take the heir's position. By she, you mean Jia Yue? Yes. She's the Jia group's third daughter, and the likeliest to inherit as head of the family. But your surname isn't Jia. Lu Sun stopped halfway, because he'd noticed she was crying. He'd never seen it before. Whatever else happened, the girl was relentlessly cheerful. He passed her a tissue without saying anything. Thank you. She took it and wiped her face. Years ago the head of the Jia family wanted my mother, and forced the matter. His wife wouldn't tolerate her. Bai Ling told it quietly. The details differed a little from what Lu Sun had imagined. The shape of it was much the same. Driven out, Bai Ling's mother had married a man named Bai Jianhua, and Bai Ling was born. She grew up believing Bai Jianhua was her father. He died in one of the disasters some years ago, and her mother fell seriously ill afterward. Before she died, she told Bai Ling she was of the Jia family, and asked her to go back to them, that this was where her stage was. So Bai Ling went back, to honor her mother's last wish. The head of the Jia family had no particular use for her at first. Then he discovered what she could do with a furnace, and accepted her without further hesitation. And Bai Ling did extremely well. She opened the 9 revolutions pill vein, a heaven and earth extraordinary vein. A born alchemist. Before she'd so much as entered the first realm she could refine second-grade heaven-tier elixirs, which is a talent rare in the whole of the East. The head of the family began to intend her as his heir. A position that had belonged, until then, to the third daughter, Jia Yue. Up to that point Bai Ling's future was luminous. And then, refining one day, something went wrong with her pill vein, and it stopped working. Her life turned over in a moment. The head of the family wasn't willing to give up on her outright, but with nobody in the Jia family prepared to have her, he pushed her out. Bai Ling didn't give up. She meant to restore the vein by refining continuously. And, being stubborn underneath the cheerfulness, she meant to prove something. Which is why she'd come to Qingbei Street and set up her furnace directly opposite Jia's shop. What she hadn't expected was that Jia Yue would take command personally, bring the Jia group's whole weight to bear on her, and, quietly, put money on the dark web besides. Genius or not, she wasn't grown yet. How does one fight a Leviathan? Boss. Thank you for looking after me all this time. I've thought it through. This is simply my. Bai Ling, don't give up. Lu Sun cut across her. He took her hand. There's still a way. If it can't be done in the capital, we go to another city. I don't believe the Jia group controls every alchemical material in the East. But boss, I'm so tired. Think about your mother. She wouldn't want to see you like this. Seeing her on the point of giving up on herself, Lu Sun reached for the one thing that would hold. It worked. Something came back into her eyes. Your mother must have gone to her grave unwilling. What she wanted was for you to grow, and for the Jia group to see exactly what her daughter is. You have a pill vein. Restore it, and there won't be a soul in that entire group fit to stand beside you. He kept at it while the iron was hot. Boss. Do you really think I can? She looked at him the way someone drowning looks at a rope. I do. And you aren't fighting alone. He held her eyes. You have me. You have me. The 4 words lit her face entirely. Bai Ling's favor has reached 100%. Host has defeated 4 or more third realm cultivators. Strength assessed as third realm equivalent. Bai Ling may now be bound. Already? Lu Sun was mildly surprised. He'd assumed he needed to actually reach the third realm, the system evidently judged on strength, and the standard was simple enough, beat 4 third realm cultivators. Even at 100% favor, though, binding Bai Ling still required close contact. A kiss, at minimum. For a higher return multiplier, for what Bai Ling could do, and to give her back the pill vein, there was nothing wrong with the idea in principle. The difficulty was the practice of it. And am I supposed to simply kiss her? At which point he registered that Bai Ling was looking back at him with color in her face, because he'd been staring at a system panel that happened to sit directly in her line of sight, and had been holding her eyes for rather a long time. Today's as good as any other day. He went for it. Bai Ling's eyes went wide, and she froze where she sat. Exactly as Lu Sun had expected, the binding reward was origin energy. Still with his lips against hers, he passed it across to Bai Ling at once. A minute later the last of it had gone into her, and only then did he draw back. Bai Ling hadn't moved. Her eyes were wide, her lashes trembling faintly, and she stood as still as a startled deer, plainly unable to process what had just happened. Lu Sun waited. Several minutes passed before she blinked. Finding him standing that close, the color went up her face and out to the tips of her ears. Bai Ling, I'm sorry. I didn't manage to stop myself. No, it's all right, boss. She waved both hands in a panic, her eyes going everywhere, her voice barely audible. I don't blame you. Please don't feel badly about it. A kind girl. Kissed without warning, and still worried he'd feel wretched about it. Then her expression turned serious and her brows drew together, as though she were listening to something inside herself. The next second it opened out entirely, her eyes blazed, and her mouth curved without her meaning it to. What is it? Boss, my pill vein is recovering. Astonishment filled her face. She could feel the vein that had lain dead in her for years coming back to life. It worked. The origin energy had taken. It's recovering. Bai Ling couldn't help the sound she made. The pill vein was her whole life, worth more than her life. Without it her spirit will couldn't turn, her other spirit veins were compromised, and she couldn't cultivate at all. She possessed a spirit will formed of 9 major spirit veins and a great many minor ones, and no cultivation whatever, and that was the reason. And now the vein was coming back. He'd pulled her out of it. Bai Ling, see to the recovery. That comes first. Yes, boss. She sat straight down and sank into it. The prompts came an hour later. The creation pill vein. Another heaven and earth extraordinary vein, and Lu Sun hadn't expected the vein's restoration to return anything at all. Which made 3 of them. Inside him, where the chaos divine vein lay, a third extraordinary vein took shape, and the moment it appeared it merged with the other 2, becoming part of the chaos divine vein entire. Overhead, the sky answered. Pill clouds burned across it, and the cloud cover seemed torn open by something unseen. Red gold pill fire came down like rain, and where it touched the ground it became the phantom of a spirit herb, which took root and withered in the same instant, over and over, the whole cycle of a medicine's birth and death. Then, high above, the shadow of an enormous furnace woven out of that burning cloud rose slowly into view, with a sound coming from inside it like a bell, or a drum. Within, pills rose and fell, and resolved into 9 bright stars strung out in a line. Another phenomenon. Pill cloud burning the sky, the black furnace refining 9 stars, that's a pill vein. A pill vein has come into the world. Someone above the city marked it. Because the phenomenon was Lu Sun's, the system held its scale down, and with the capital producing phenomena nearly every day, this one didn't rouse many people. A few streaks of light came in from a distance, and by the time they arrived it was very nearly over. Fortunate. If anyone knew it had come from him, questions would follow. The first 2 had been easy enough to explain away. This one had been triggered by the restoration of Bai Ling's pill vein, and anyone who learned that might start assembling the pieces. Better to make one's fortune quietly. Xiao Ling. Has your pill vein recovered? A figure came down out of the sky. Seeing Bai Ling, and assuming the phenomenon was hers, his face filled with something close to joy. Thank you for your concern, Master Jia. Bai Ling's pill vein has indeed recovered. Her expression went cold on the instant, and her tone was the one reserved for strangers. It stopped him where he stood. This was the head of the Jia family, the Jia group's helmsman, and Bai Ling's father. And Bai Ling had called him Master Jia, and referred to herself by name. She was drawing a line, and drawing it plainly. Xiao Ling, don't hold it against me. The Jia family is a large house with a great many elders. There's a limit to what I can decide alone. He sighed. There was regret in it. When her pill vein failed, he hadn't fought to keep her. Nobody had imagined it could ever come back. Master Jia, you flatter me. Bai Ling has no standing to hold anything against you, and Bai Ling won't make difficulties for you. From this day I won't set foot in the Jia family again. She said it firmly enough that his face changed. Xiao Ling, don't be like this. I'll swear it before heaven, come back with me and the heir's position is still yours. He raised his hand as he said it. Bai Ling shook her head. No. That house was never mine. And she walked off toward the road to find a car. Watching her go, the head of the Jia family let his shoulders drop and exhaled slowly. Young man, are you a friend of Xiao Ling's? Take her this card for me. The passcode is her birthday. He held it out. Lu Sun considered, and took it. Had he been the one wronged, he'd have refused it outright. But the man was Bai Ling's father, and Lu Sun preferred she have the choice herself. Has it occurred to you to ask why Bai Ling's pill vein failed? He said it once the card was in his hand. The question visibly startled the older man. Young man, you suspect someone did it deliberately. He'd had the suspicion himself. He'd never found evidence. Destroying a pill vein quietly is extraordinarily difficult work. Master Jia. Are you aware that Bai Ling was nearly killed this morning? Killed? By whom? His brows came down and real anger came into his eyes. I was about to ask you the same thing. Lu Xun shrugged and turned to go. Since Master Jia doesn't know either, I'll take my leave. You're really not going back? A few minutes later, in the car, Lu Xun asked her. No. Bai Ling watched the city go past the window, and her expression didn't waver. I'm not going back. All right. Which was, in fact, a good thing. There were a great many people in the Jia family who wished her harm. Going back now would only produce new problems. If she went back at all, it should be later. For the present, refining on Qingbei Street would do perfectly well. With the pill vein restored, third-grade pills would come quickly, and so would her cultivation. That's the particular power of a pill vein among heaven and earth extraordinary veins. It isn't only useful for refining. Refining itself raises the cultivation of whoever holds it. Which meant Bai Ling had no need to cultivate deliberately at all. Her pill vein has actually recovered. It's confirmed, Mississippi. How? On the third floor of Jia's shop on Qingbei Street, Jia Yue's legs went from under her and she sat down heavily. The news had arrived without warning. Bai Ling's pill vein had recovered, and set off another phenomenon in the heavens doing it. As the Jia group's intended heir, Jia Yue's own talent for alchemy was hardly poor, a fourth-grade, earth-tier alchemist at her age. But heaven-tier work was largely beyond her. Even when she managed it the success rate was pitiful, and a great deal of material went into the furnace for every 1 or 2 pills that came out. Nothing like Bai Ling. Bai Ling's pill vein was the decisive thing. It made every card in Jia Yue's hand look thin. Miss, it's bad. The master is coming. A maid came running in with the news. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Jia Yue, look at what you've done, using the group's resources against your own sister, and now hiring someone to kill her. There's no law left in you at all. The head of the Jia family came in on the end of the maid's sentence, thundering. Hiring someone. Jia Yue's face changed and she denied it at once. Father, I didn't. Still quibbling. Who else would it be? He didn't believe a word of it. I would. A sharp voice from behind him. He turned, and couldn't credit it. Ajin, you did it. Mother, why are you here? Jia Yue's mother had arrived. That girl, I'd tear her apart with my own hands. What's wrong with hiring someone? Bring her into this house again and I'll raise the price to millions of units. If you're set on choosing her, then kill Yue and me first. She had the head of the Jia family's momentum broken inside a sentence. Bai Ling, rest and let the vein settle first. If the Jia group keeps the materials blocked, we can look into getting you into the Pill Cauldron Academy. Lu Xun had seen her back to the Star and Moon building. With her pill vein restored, the road in front of her had widened considerably. If the blockade held, a pill vein like hers would certainly get her into the Pill Cauldron Academy, a university devoted entirely to training alchemists. After Bai Ling first returned to the Jia family, its head had decided to train her himself and kept her out of university. That option was still open. Oh, and this is the card your father asked me to bring you. The passcode is your birthday. After some thought, Lu Xun handed it over. Bai Ling looked at it for a few seconds, took it, and dropped it straight into a box. Jia's has ended the promotion. The following day, Jia's shop stopped discounting. And the bounty on Bai Ling is gone as well. Luo dashing message to say the commission had been withdrawn from the dark web. So the head of the Jia family has been throwing his weight about. Lu Xun took both to be his doing. Bai Ling. Let's try again. He took her out to buy materials immediately. This time it went smoothly. Not only was everything available, the prices had come down sharply. Which resolved Bai Ling's largest problem. With materials in hand she went straight back to the furnace, meaning to refine a batch for her own cultivation first. With Jia's promotion over, the Spirit Pill Pavilion's trade began recovering, and Lu Sun released the stock he'd been buying up, gradually, to recoup what he'd spent. And I'm at a loose end again. Lu Sun returned to being the idlest man on campus. Chu Youqing has broken through to the 4th stage of Qi gathering. Host gains 30-fold what Chu Youqing gained. She broke through within 2 days. With Bai Ling bound, the multiplier had risen to 30, and the difference showed. Lu Sun's immortal cultivation leapt from the 13th stage of Qi gathering to the 16th. And it wasn't only spiritual power. He'd gained divine sense. The 4th stage of Qi gathering is the middle of that realm, and breaking into it produces a faint spiritual awareness in an immortal cultivator. That faint awareness arrived at Lu Sun multiplied 30 times over. So the system can't return what they never gained. He'd passed the 4th stage of Qi gathering some time ago, but Chu Youqing had possessed no divine sense then, so none had come back to him with the earlier returns. Only now. So this is divine sense. Lu Sun closed his eyes and felt outward with it. 30 times Chu Youqing's or not, the base figure was small, so his own reach wasn't especially great, a few meters in every direction. What it perceived, though, was more immediate and more detailed than sight. After a while he turned it inward instead. The divine sense passed through his martial veins and spirit veins and came at last to his dantian, which looked like chaos itself. And within that chaos sat 2 enormous universes, the Qi Sea and the Spirit Palace. The Qi Sea seethed with true energy. The power in the Spirit Palace was gaseous. 3rd realm spiritual power is half liquid. Mine is as pure as a 3rd realm's, and still gaseous. Immortal cultivators of the 1st and 2nd realms have gaseous spiritual power. At the 3rd it turns half liquid, a kind of mist. At the 4th it becomes fully liquid. At the 16th stage of Qi gathering, Lu Sun's gaseous spiritual power was purer than most half-liquid, and remained, in form, a gas. I wonder whether true energy and spiritual power will mix. He decided to find out. And very nearly hurt himself doing it. The 2 energies, though both his own, refused each other outright. Fortunately he'd used a very small quantity, anything more and he'd have done himself real damage. Which was, he understood now, exactly why nobody thinks well of dual cultivation. The conflict between the 2 powers only worsens with time, and handled badly it ruins the cultivator. Others are others. I have a chaos divine body. Something occurred to him. The chaos divine vein. In a fight he'd been running both powers simultaneously through the chaos divine vein, which was why they hadn't conflicted. So he fed the true energy and the spiritual power into it together. At the thought, the chaos divine vein turned over, and mixed them. It's working. Under the vein's influence, 2 forces that had refused each other entirely blended, and became something else. Chaos power, he decided, after turning it over. A reasonable name. Remarkable. Testing it, Lu Sun found the chaos power extraordinary. It could drive martial arts and cast immortal arts alike, and did both with considerably more force than either true energy or spiritual power alone. His combat power had just risen again.
Hello everyone! As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500+ novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.